Naruto. Obito is exposed and the ninja world is shocked. Chapter 101. Play Act 7 Easter egg now. Feathering. 6 paths with Earth. In the image. In the silent night, the pale moonlight is like a shroud, draped over Uchiha's body. At this moment, Uchiha Obito has completely lost his invincible appearance, lying weakly on the head of the 10 tails, his head is full of white, and his breath is dying. Look, Uchiha Obito seems to be dying. What? Although I don't know how the coalition did it, the victory still belongs to us after all. Yokata, we are the victorious side. Looking at the tragic situation of Uchiha Obito, the atmosphere of the discussion group instantly became cheerful. The image continues. Sasuke Uchiha. It's too easy, just seal the failed Madara and the war will be over. Why do you say that the war will end? Clearly. It's just getting started. Uchiha smiled at the corner of his mouth. 6 tails coffin. As soon as the words fell, the abnormality suddenly appeared. The huge and hideous 10 tails was twisted by a powerful suction force, and was sucked into the body by Uchiha Obito. What's going on? Bofeng Shuaman looked puzzled. Uchiha Sasuke frowned. Has the 10 tails changed form again? Naruto Uzumaki realized it later. No, he got rid of Madara's control, and he was making a mark for becoming this form from the beginning. The huge 10 tails condensed into a crystal sphere, like a clear and flawless jade cocoon, shining in the moonlight. Naruto Uzumaki's expression was shocked beyond belief, and he was surprised. That is 10-tailed man pillar force. The next moment, the jade cocoon shattered, the crystal fragments were scattered around like crystal blocks, and Uchiha brought soil from the jade cocoon, showing his figure. At this time, his whole body is like jade, not like a mortal fetus in the flesh, with 9 6-way hook jades etched on his back, 5 scales on his shoulders, exuding crossfire. 6 Dao Obito slowly opened his eyes, the left reincarnation eye, the right divine power blood chakra eye, the eyes are shining, evil-like charm. The cross was cremated into 5 red pillars of light, clasped the 4 red sun arrays, and easily shattered them. The 6 paths of earth soared into the air, stepping on the void, like the 6 immortals, looking coldly at the world. Dirt Thousand-Hand Pillar solemnly said, say it bluntly. This guy is stronger than me. Bofeng Shuaman advised. Stop. Obito. 6 Dao Obito's eyes were indifferent, and said lightly, Obito. Quote. The picture stopped abruptly. The discussion group will be closed in 5 minutes. The discussion group wailed. He's transformed again. Isn't this battle over? It's endless. How many whole cards does he have? 6 modes. Is this a battle I can participate in? Quote. Just when everyone fell into despair again. The 4th generation of Thunder Shadow. In order to prevent Uchiha from bringing the future scourge of the ninja world, Union is here to declare war on Konoha. The discussion group was in an uproar, and then they all praised Lei Ying's iron-blooded wrist. 4 generations of Thunder Shadow. I could be described as responding, and the pressure instantly spread to several other great ninja villages. Yakura Tachibana. On behalf of Kirihi, I hereby declare war on Konoha and Uchiha Obito. Union is awesome, Foggy is awesome. What about Sand and Rock? What are you waiting for? If you don't fight now, when will you wait? Lord Luo Sha, take the brothers to rush again. Lord Onoki, if there is a war, I would like to be a pawn. The atmosphere instantly became warm, and everyone was shouting the names of the 2 shadows. Finally, Luo Sha, on behalf of Sakuin, I hereby declare war on Konoha and Uchiha Obito. Onoki, Iwahide is here to declare war on Konoha and Uchiha Obito. In an instant, the sound of war was raging, and the eyes of the entire ninja world turned to Konoha. Konoha's root. I am Shimura Danzo of Konoha. The 4th generation of Mei Hokage has been controlled by Uchiha Obito with illusion and has become a puppet of Uchiha Obito. I declare the abolition of the position of Jiraiya 4th generation Mei Hokage, and temporarily replace the 5th generation Mei Hokage. On behalf of Konoha, I hereby declare war on Uchiha Obito. Quote. Lying Groove. Konoha has long been secretly manipulated by Uchiha Obito. No wonder it can accommodate such a public enemy of the ninja world. Shimura Danzo Shinoha Haujeya. Konoha's, it's still too late to abandon the dark and turn to the light. When the time comes, the Ninja Alliance will hit the doorstep. Don't blame us for not reminding us in advance. Immediately afterwards, representatives of various small countries also declared war on Konoha in the discussion group. When the 5-minute time came, the mechanical radio sounded on time. The discussion group is closed. Lai was also furious. Tuanzang old thief, so shameless. Obito gloomy face said, this battle, the ninja world is doomed to defeat. Quote. Huh. Are you so confident? Quote. Jiraiya misinterpreted the meaning of Obito, and thought that he had the confidence to single out the ninja world, although he really could in the image, but at this time he was not a 10-tailed human pillar force. Wrong. Uchiha is still watching, he will only watch from the sidelines in this battle, and then sit on the fisherman's profit. Obito sighed and explained slowly. But now the entire ninja world doesn't believe us. Quote. Jiraiya locked his brows. This is also the most grassy place. Obito also frowned, thinking about countermeasures. Soon after, the heads of Konoha's major forces rushed to the ruins of the root organization, looking at Jiraiya with strange eyes. Don't believe Shimura Danzo's nonsense. First control these dead men who were reborn in filthy soil, and hold a high-level meeting later, and I will explain it to you. Also, recall all those who are out on duty and block the village. Quote. Jiraiya took out the posture of the Hokage. If you don't show some majesty at this moment, you will only lose more patience and make the situation more chaotic. In a temple in Kaoyan village, Heiju smiled compassionately. It's good that the ninja world is going to be lively again. The white-clothed monk next to it said, isn't that exactly what you want? That being said, but Madala obtained the Eye of Reincarnation I didn't expect, and the obstacle added another one. Heiju said expressionlessly. Didn't you prepare another carrier? The monk said indifferently. Heiju, his strength is too weak, he is simply not enough to see in front of Madala and Uchiha Obito, and he will have to rely on you at that time. No problem, don't forget your promise then. The white-clothed monk took a sip of tea. Heiju said with a smile. Zhao, to be honest, I am surprised that you can ignore the previous suspicions. There are no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. You should know that we are running out of time. When the time comes, the clan will send people to hold accountable, and we will all destroy together. The white-clothed monk stared at Heiju indifferently. As for our grudges, when the task in the clan is delivered, the clan has its own conclusion. Heiju, I'm glad you can think so. Quote. Konoha conference room. Everyone, you must know what happened, right? Zilai also sat on the chief with a solemn face. Kaharu hesitated. I think. It's better to call Uchiha out with the soil to calm the anger of the people. Mito Menyon. I agree. If he insists on protecting Uchiha Obito, Konoha will usher in a catastrophe, and the Fire Council will repeat the mistakes of the Vortex country. The speeches of the two elders spoke the hearts of the high-ranking people present. For the sake of one person, to take the lives of their entire clan and even the entire village, no one is willing to replace it. Zilai also glanced at the two elders and reminded, have you forgotten that when the village was attacked a few days ago, who stood up and solved the disaster of Konoha? As soon as these words came out, all the high-level officials looked at each other again. This is why they have not spoken out until now, but what is conscience compared to interests and lives? But, as the shadow of a village, you should prioritize the future of the village, rather than being swayed by personal emotions and riding everything in the village to protect a public enemy of the ninja world. Unless, did you really fall for Uchiha's magic with soil as Tuanzo said? Turning to sleep, Xiaochunhu glanced at Jilai suspiciously. Ahem. I can prove this, Naruto-sama definitely does not have illusions, I have seen it with my white eyes. Hinata coughed lightly, dispelling the doubts of the audience. It is for the sake of the village that I decided to fight. Don't forget that Uchiha has been resurrected, and when he gathers the tailed beast to launch the infinite moon redding, everyone will die. Jiraiya looked around and found that the various high-ranking people still looked hesitant, and sighed. Everyone has seen the power of Uchiha. I dare to assert that no one in the entire ninja world can match it except Obito. Not only can we not hand Obito over, but we must also fight to protect him, so as to save Konoha's future. Mito Menyon retorted. But if you fight the coalition forces, how long will the village last? For the civilians of the village, instead of dying under the butcher knife of the coalition army, it is better to die in illusion with the entire ninja world, at least. Not so painful. Moreover, there are already many people in the village who want to defect to Tuanzang and protect Uzebo with the soil, which is really not the will of the people. As soon as this remark came out, it was approved by the high-level officials. Compared with the infinite moon reading, the butcher knife of the Ninja World Alliance army is right in front of them, and the high-level people are holding a fluke mentality. The ape who had been sitting on the side with a cigarette slapped the table and said in a deep voice, "Don't be naive. Do you really think that the shadows of the other villages came to bring soil to Uchiha? Who will start a war because of the ethereal things of the future? It's just that when you see Konoha being attacked, take advantage of the fire and rob it. In the end, Uchiha Obito is just the reason for their actions." Quote. As a third-generation Hokage, the prestige of the ape flying sun slash is not comparable to itself, and many high-ranking people bowed their heads in fear. Guys, the 3 wars have just ended, the economies of all countries are relatively sluggish, if there is no authorization from the daimyo, how dare they easily provoke a war? It's just a means for countries to transfer domestic contradictions. After receiving the support of Sarutobi Hinata, Jiraiya straightened his waist and said resolutely. In the name of the 4th generation of Hokage, I am determined to face the Ninja Realm Coalition army. I have made up my mind, don't say it again. In the middle of the night, darkness shrouded the entire village. Trees, grass and buildings become blurry and mysterious in the darkness, and even more mysterious are some sneaky figures who take the opportunity to escape from Konoha. The stalkers all open one eye and close the other, because there are many familiar relatives or friends among the figures who sneak out. Obito and Jiraiya stood on the Hokage rock, watching the figures sneaking out of the village from time to time in the dark night, and sighed in unison. When the disaster comes, they fly separately, this is the human heart. Obito asked curiously, you just let them go. How else? Arrest them all and put them in jail. That would also free up people to watch over them. Moreover, if you do it to them now, the village will be in turmoil, anyway, they will not really fight for the village. Keep them, maybe they will not be stabbed by them, it is better to let them go now. Quote. Since I have also seen too many pictures of the countries around the world, there are too many pictures of 2 or 5 children stabbing in the back. It feels like most of the village is going to leave. Obito sighed. Zilai also looked indifferent, and said, the guy who is not willing to fight for his companions at the critical time, it is useless to keep it. Obito pulled away the topic. Are there any movements in other villages? The major villages are gathering elites, and it is estimated that they will unite in 2 days. Jiraiya smiled and asked, are you confident? Of course there is. The coalition army is just a bunch of rabble with ghosts. Obito scoffed and scoffed. As long as you survive the previous waves of offensives and shake their military hearts a little, you can make the coalition army fall apart, and they who do not have a unified command are just stragglers who fight separately. Then he changed his tone and said, what really worries me is Uchiha, he already has the Eye of Reincarnation, he can create a white army, plus the Great Snake Pill's dirt rebirth technique, and his actions are in danger. What do you think are the odds? Jiraiya asked worriedly. Obito stared at the night sky and said, to be honest, there is no chance of victory, I can't see a turnaround, if the ninja world can stand on our side, there may be hope, but now the entire ninja world sees me as an enemy. Not necessarily. You forgot the prophecy of the totem mortal. You are the son of prophecy who can bring peace to the ninja world. Jiraiya patted Obito's shoulder and said with relief. Hopefully, there will really be a turnaround. Obito smiled bitterly. After all, after Madara, there is also a big tube of wood Kagaya. Zilai also asked with a curious look, is she really that strong? As strong as the 6 Tao immortals, they can only seal her. She has detached herself from the realm of human beings and is a true god. Obito still remembers the cold eyes of Kagaya Itsuki, if it hadn't been sealed for a long time, coupled with the flood of maternal love, it was exploited by Naruto and the two. The outcome of that battle is still unknown. Solipsism and goddess. I hope it's not the end. 3 days later. On a barren hill in Kauyan village. There is only dry soil and cracked rocks, filled with the sound of wind and the rolling of gravel. The air on the barren hills is dirty and haze-shrouded, and the originally desolate place is extremely noisy at the moment. The ninjas of the four major ninja villages of Sandhide, Misthide, Yunyin, and Iwayin gathered here at the same time, which was an unprecedented gathering in the ninja world. Looking down from the air, Yenian village has the most characters in the team, then Union village is second, then Cheyenne village again, and finally Wuyin village. Holding Tachibana Yakura, the tradition of the blood mist country continues, and the mist hidden village will kill itself. Luo Sha held his shoulders with both hands and observed the strong people in the team below. What do you understand? It's all about raising tough ninjas. How can the flowers in the greenhouse withstand the ravages of wind and rain? Takashi Yakura snorted coldly. Wuyin village has always practiced cruel drip rule, and the three-generation water shadow period reached its peak. On the one hand, to clear the bloodstain limit family, on the other hand, it began to let ninjas fight each other, and screen the strong in a way of raising cheats. Hence the title of Blood Dance, and he continued this tradition after he came to power. However, over the years, the brain drain in Wuyin village has indeed been serious. Lei Yinggai asked towards Onoki, why did Yenian come out with such a few people? It won't be that you want to fish in troubled waters, and you can't contribute to the work, right? HMPH, why is Lei Ying embarrassed to say? You Union have a third fewer people than us. Onoki retorted unceremoniously. I said proudly, I Union are all elite, and all of them are 1 to 10. Quote. The four shadows on the field are talking, and the team off the field is also very lively. Everyone's face is ugly, and they are full of malice and hatred towards the ninjas of other villages. The scene is noisy and tense. The sand ninja looked at Deidara, who only reached his chest. Mockingly, what, why did Yenian even play the little fart child? It won't be that there is no one, right? The next moment, 3 clay spiders crawled to his calves, and Deidara said sadly, Cheyenne's dog barks again, believe it or not, Lousy will blow you up now. Yenian Lois stopped Deidara in time and said, don't be impulsive, if you really exchange fire, Lord Tsuchikage won't let you go. HMPH. Count you kid lucky. Deidara withdrew the clay spider with a look of disdain. The sand ninja then remembered that Deidara, who had bombed the 3 tails with Faye in the video, suddenly broke into a cold sweat and walked away. A Iwayne ninja looked up at the childlike water shadow and wondered, is it really okay to let a little ghost be the captain? The mist ninja immediately refuted him loudly, Tachibana Yakura-sama is not a child. Don't talk nonsense if you don't know anything. Not. To be outdone, the Iwayne ninja increased the decibels and said, of course I know, you were still our enemies before. HMPH. This is also what I want to say, if you don't want to die, put your mouth clean. The mist ninja grabbed the Iwayne ninja by the collar, his gaze fierce. The Iwayne ninja immediately burst into flames, and his backhand was a punch, and the two scuffled together. Similar scenes gradually intensified off the scene. My dad died at the hands of 3 generations of Thunder Shadow. If it weren't for your Yenian's sudden defection during the sudden 3 battles, our 3 generations of Thunder Shadow would not have died. It seems that everyone still doesn't trust each other, so let's see who has the biggest fist and who will lead everyone. As soon as the words fell, Yenian and Union on this side also began to exchange hands. So, I'm the most annoyed with Yenian village. Hey, Foggy, what are you talking about? Since you didn't hear it, then there is no way. I said that your Yenian village is a barbarian who does not understand etiquette. You renege and love to betray. Now it seems that Wuyin and Cheyenne still can't join forces, anyway, you will betray sooner or later, Yenian. Since you have such an opinion, let's speak with your fists. Let me clean my mouth. What, kind of hit me? My dad was killed by your sand ninja, if you want to find death now, I will fulfill you. The ninjas on both sides immediately went up and pulled the two apart. Hey, stop. Quote. Seeing that the scene gradually got out of control, the 4 shadows began to stop the fight below and prevent the fire from escalating. Onoki said coldly, we gathered here for the benefit of the country and the village, don't destroy the alliance because of your personal emotions. Quote. 4 generations of Lei Kage. The 3 wars have ended, now the 4 wars, our enemies are Uchiha Obito and Konoha, if you want to fight, just wait for me until the end of the 4 battles. Quote. Luo Sha is directly using magnetic escape. Placer Gold forcibly separates those in the fight. Yakura also said sharply, take all your energy and anger out on Konoha and Uchiha Obito, and stop doing stupid things. Quote. Seeing the shadow of their own family, the ninjas of the major villages finally scattered, but each other was still trying to kill each other with their eyes. The sky was gray, the air was damp, and rain dripped from the roofs and leaves, hitting the ground with a dull sound. The entire Yuyan village seemed to be enveloped in a heavy atmosphere, without a trace of vitality. The outer road looks like standing in the rain, the color and body are like dead wood, there are 10 pillars protruding from the back, and the 9 eyes are closed, as if in a deep sleep, exuding an aura of terror and evil. Orochimaru walked up to Uchiha and looked up at the hideous outer path golem, with a hint of curiosity and fanaticism in his eyes. Madara-sama, the main forces of the 4 major villages have all gathered in Kusanagi village and are heading to the border of the Fire Nation. Konoha's ninjas have also assembled there. He hung his head, making people unable to see his expression, but a pair of snake eyes showed intrigue and ambition. The people of the major villages, Zhu Li, also participated in the war. Uchiha asked casually. Orochimaru replied respectfully, except for the 8-tailed man Zuliki Rabi, everyone else Zuli stays in the village. Madara raised his eyebrows and asked, is there any news of Uchiha taking the soil? Quote. Since Jiraiya tried to protect Uchiha with the soil, Konoha had a small-scale defection, and Uchiha Obito has also rushed to the valley in the image. I think he probably didn't want the battle to affect Konoha. Uchiha agreed with Orochimaru's reasoning, and asked coldly, is there any news of Highway? Quote. Nope. A hint of color flashed in the eyes of the big snake pill. It seems that it really has its own ideas. Uchiha sneered disdainfully. An inferior product also wants to play tricks and stir up the ninja world. Let's go. Take advantage of Uchiha bringing soil to help us attract the attention of the ninja world, go to the major villages, and collect those animals. Quote. Let's start with Cheyenne village. Kurabi confronts the ground in the form of a bull Oni and Susanoo who stops the water, each exuding a strong aura. Ink Jade Cannon. The 8-tailed bull ghost raised its giant mouth to the sky, and the huge pitch-black energy condensed into a ball of light. Unlike the tailed beast Jade's long-term charge, in the blink of an eye, the black-tailed beast bullet condensed, and along with the yellow brilliance, a huge shock wave slammed towards Susanoo. Susanoo. 99. The dense emerald green arrows shot out again, and bombarded together with the Ink Jade energy cannon. Yellow-green light waves collided in the air, and huge energy waves burst out, forming a ball of light that enveloped everything around it. The trees were shattered by the energy wave formed by the explosion, and wood chips and branches flew apart, making a shrill sound. The surrounding dust formed a gray curtain, and the aftermath also left a deep ravine in the ground, as if cutting through the scars of the earth. The figures of Ushi Oni and Susanoo loomed in the dust. A crack appeared on Susanoo's chest in the dark green. Fang Kai's counterwave, stop water still lost slightly. Fortunately, it's not the legendary tailed beast Jade. The eyes that stopped the water once again welled up with blood and tears, and his vision was extremely damaged, and in the dust, only the silhouette of the cow ghost could be faintly seen. Tailed beast 8 rolls. Apparently not wanting to give the water a chance to breathe, Kurabi's tentacles wrapped around the cow ghost and spun at high speed, forming a huge storm and rushing towards Susanoo. There is no way to avoid stopping the water, so he can only manipulate Susanoo to stretch out his hands to resist the impact of Yao, and Susanoo's figure sinks in an attempt to reduce the impact. Yao is like a spinning top at high speed, constantly bombarding Susanoo. A deep ravine was plowed out of the earth, and the surrounding trees collapsed, and a loud noise was heard. Susanoo, who was at the end of the strong crossbow, instantly dissipated, and the water stop was knocked dozens of meters away, and it smashed heavily into a large tree. He vomited out a mouthful of blood directly, staining his chest red, and his internal organs suffered huge damage. If it weren't for the war, I would appreciate you very much, it's a pity that we are in a hostile relationship. The killer bee put away its tail and beasted, and walked towards the water stop step by step. Thunder Plow Heat Knife. The thunder attribute chakra was attached to his left arm, which was like a steel blade, and Kurabi's elbow slashed through the neck of the water stopper, and this blow would twist the water stop neck alive. Boom. The imaginary blood splattered, and the scene of the separation of the head did not happen. At the moment of the attack, a figure appeared from the vortex and blocked in front of the water. Obito's right hand attached to the chakra of Iso, and punched Kurabi's peerless hot knife. Kurabi was bombarded and flew out upside down, and before he could stand up, countless corals grew around his body, firmly restraining him, and the guardian mark was quietly attached to Kurabi's right foot. Coral palm. The cow ghost said in a solemn tone, reminding, he has obtained the approval of the three-tailed Iso and can be completely tailed into a beast. Your Uchiha Obito. Kurabi entered a half-tailed animalized state, his whole body was blood red, his face was hideous, like a demon, and the huge force shattered the corals that bound his body. Obito ignored Kurabi, first attached the tailed beast coat to the water stop, relieved his injuries, and sucked it into the divine power space, before turning to Kurabi and saying, Killer B. I have something to say to the cow ghost. There's nothing to say to you, kill you, and the 4 ninja battles will be over. The half-tailed beastly Killer Bee rushed directly over, forming hard white bones at its elbows, and bombarded Obito. Boom. The violent bombardment happened, but it did not happen between the two, and Kurabi penetrated Obito's body and smashed several large trees in a row before stopping his figure. Bagaya Road, Kongya dear, he hit me, I can't hit him. Not because I'm too weak, but because he's too bad. Kurabi then remembered that Obito had the ability to blur, and frowned. In this case, I can't do anything with him. Then, let's go. I still feel the breath of the 9 tails in him, you are not his opponent. In the dark space of consciousness, the bull ghost urged. Kurabi bowed his head in agreement, and then pretended to be surprised and asked Obito, can a single pillar force seal 2-tailed beasts at the same time? Obito didn't answer him and entered the blur again. A small pencil with the bonus of the thunder attribute chakra plus the power of the tailed beast flew over at a speed invisible to the naked eye. If it weren't for the insight of the kaleidoscope blood chakra eye, it would be difficult for ordinary people to react. The small pencil was amazingly powerful, and after penetrating the body of Obito, it bombarded the tree 100 meters away, and blasted the tree out of a big hole. Seeing that the sneak attack was unsuccessful, Chirabi quickly turned around and retreated, and was in the half-tailed beast plus the bonus of the thunder attribute chakra, and the escape speed was staggering. If you don't see the coffin, don't cry. The next moment, Obito teleported behind his back, sucking his whole person into the divine power space, and then entering it himself. Yagaya dear, where is this? Chirabi only felt that the world was spinning for a while, and he was in an unknown space. It was dark here, there were countless stone platforms, and on the stone platform next to him lay Uchiha to stop the water. It should be the ability of the blood wheel eye, actually having time and space. The bull ghost is well informed, and Rabbi Tiki introduced. Time and space. Is it related to space-time ninjutsu? The flying thunder god he should use, by the way, he is the apprentice of the wave feng shui gate. Kurabi said after realizing. This has to mention Wanquan Birasaka. Wait, here he is. Be careful. Before the cow ghost finished speaking, the figure with Obito appeared next to Kurabi. If I wanted to kill you, you would be a corpse by now. Obito looked calm and sat cross-legged, obviously not wanting to make a move. Seeing that Obito did not take an attacking stance, Kurabi hesitantly put away the tailed beastly state. Killer B, connect the chakra of the bull ghost to me, I want to talk to the bull ghost. Nani? Kurabi listened brightly. In the dark space of consciousness. Chirabi jumped to his feet and said, isn't he afraid that I will sneak up on him? Also, why your chakra? The cow ghost mused, it should be that the 3 tails told him, I will explain it to you later, do as he says, I also want to meet the 3 tails and the 9 tails. Quote. The deep depths of the psychedelity of the tailed beast. At a glance, the bull ghost saw the 9-tailed person crawling on the ground and pretending to sleep, and Michi and Iso, who was honestly on the side, have you even opened this layer of the world to Uchiha Obito? Kurabi stood on the head of the bull ghost, looking confused. I've been saying some strange things since just now, what is this place? Bull ghost. The tailed beasts are originally the same body, and they can have psychological induction with each other, but only the human pillar power that has obtained the approval of the tailed beast can enter this layer of the world. Quote. So, Uchiha Obito has already received the approval of two-tailed beasts at the same time. Kurabi was surprised. Huh. Bull Ghost, times have changed, and there is only an exchange of interests between them, not the recognition you imagine. The Ninetails squinted and scoffed. Huh. Isn't that the case? Quote. The cow ghost is puzzled. I made a deal with Uchiha Obito, and when I defeat Uchiha Madara, I will be allowed to be free. This. How is it possible? The human pillar force will die if the tailed beast is withdrawn. Isoji said, he is the son of prophecy in Toad Pill's mouth, and I believe in him. But he's not the boy, the old man of the six Tao said. The bull ghost remembered the last words of the six immortals before they died. Shuhei, Yulu, Iso, Sun Wukong, King Mu, Rhino Dog, Chongming, Niu Ghost, 9 Llamas. Even if you are apart, you will always be together, and one day you will become one. Keep your respective names, and you will be guided correctly differently than when you were in my body. Quote. At that time, Toad Pill's prophecy clearly pointed out that the person who guided them in the future was a blonde boy who could call out their names. Niu Ghost Fox glanced at Obito suspiciously, and his heart was full of confusion. Yes, Cow Ghost. You don't believe in the pie drawn by this Uchiha imp either. As an existence second only to me in the number of tails, hurry up and kill him. The 9 Tails fanned the flames on the sidelines. Hey, 9 Llamas. Don't judge strength by the number of tails, no wonder that guy from Shozuru hates you so much. The cow ghost complained. Okay, this is the end of the greetings, the blonde boy in your mouth is still in the womb. I think you can't wait for him, because Indra's reincarnation, Uchiha has been resurrected and has obtained a more powerful eye of reincarnation. Obito interrupted the conversation between the tailed beasts and said straight to the point. If you guessed correctly, he should already be capturing the tailed beasts in various villages by now. It's Moritsuru. I have already felt a violent fluctuation in Moritsuru's spirit. Quote. A quarter of an hour ago. Land of the Wind, Sand-Hidden Village. Hey, old man, you're dying too. I don't know what the hell my next human pillar force will look like. Shuhei, tailed beasts and humans are the same, you will definitely be able to understand each other and accept each other. That's not necessarily. It's rare to see a human with a clear mind like you. You make me think of the 6 Tao immortals. Thank you, Shuhei. Fenfu heard Shuhei's praise, and his eyes flashed with tears. He was implanted with a Aikyo Morizuru since birth, and then imprisoned in this square area, and finally in his twilight years, he received the highest recognition in life. The world only knows my name is Shuhei, but they don't know my real name, and I hope that my next heir will have his own name. Old man, someone is coming. Shuhei was keenly aware that 2 powerful forces were slowly approaching, and one of them made him tremble. Half a day later. Fenfuku stands above Moritsuru's head, overlooking Uchiha Madara below. Shuhei, let's do it. Look at me. Wind escape. Sand shotgun. Countless sand bombs flew towards Uchiha, and a few grains of sand penetrated Madara's skin and entered his veins. This technique is good, but unfortunately it is not enough to decide the victory or defeat. The next moment, Uchiha sneered and rushed forward, but the figure froze in place, and suddenly said. It turned out to bury sand into my body and block my movement. It's now, the desert layer burial seal. Fenfuku and Shozuru shouted together, and a pyramid of sand suppressed Uchiha Madara into it. Uchiha was firmly bound by the sand, and it was difficult to get out, and the reincarnation eye of his left eye instantly shone. Shuhei said proudly, this is a big burial seal formed with my sand body and spell pattern. Now he will no longer be able to lift the air. Beast, look who the person you sealed is really who. The next moment, Uchiha's mocking voice came from overhead. Nani? Shozuru couldn't imagine why Uchiha's voice came from overhead. What about the blessings? How did Fenfu get in? Shuhei's eyes widened and he looked at the desert burial in disbelief, and he felt the breath of blessing dying in it. Is this the power of heavenly hands? Uchiha touched his 6-hook jade reincarnation eye and muttered, if you can become a 10-tailed human pillar force, the range that can be replaced will be wider. Quote. Under the feet, Shozuru controlled the sand and scattered it, revealing the blessing of the bottom buried alive. At this time, his face was like dead ash, and he looked suffocated. Shuhei cried out mournfully, old man. After decades of getting along, He and Fenfu have established a deep bond, only he will not dislike his own nagging, willing to listen to his own nagging, and chat with himself to relieve fatigue. Wind escape. Practice empty bombs. Morizuru violently shook his head, throwing Uchiha Madara to the ground, condensing the wind cannon to smash Uchiha Madara to smithereens. Wheel tomb. Side hell. Uchiha's right eye widened, and invisibly, an invisible figure slammed into Shuzuru's eyes. Ah! Shuhei screamed, and his huge body was knocked to the ground. Psychic. Uchiha puffed up, his hands sealed, and he pressed him to the ground. The talisman array on the ground flashed, and a huge and hideous outer path golem rose from the ground, fell on all fours to the ground, and raised a cloud of dust. Golem lock. The golem of the outer path stretched out the chain formed by chakra, firmly restrained the head of the Shuhei, and slowly pulled it back. It was only a few breaths from when Shozuru used the desert layer burial seal to when he was counterattacked on the ground. Desert traitor. Fenfu, who fell to the ground, used his last strength to control the sand to form a pair of giant hands, firmly holding the golem's lock, preventing it from shrinking back. HMPH. Uchiha snorted coldly and once again made the wheel tomb. The next moment, Fenfu's head suffered a strong blow, his eyes bulged, his neck twisted off instantly, his hands weakly pulled to the ground, and he died of anger, and he couldn't die anymore. Old man. Shuhei looked up to the sky and screamed, and then was dragged into the mouth of the outer path golem by the chain. After the outer path golem devoured the Shuhei, his aura skyrocketed, lasting for a while. Uchiha looked at all this with deep and indifferent eyes, until the aura of the golem of the outer path stabilized, and then he said with satisfaction. Which beast is it your turn? Madara-sama, Iwayne village has both the four-tailed Son Goku and the five-tailed Mu King. You only need to pass through the land of birds to reach Iwahide village. Orochimaru witnessed Fang Kai's battle with his own eyes, and had a more intuitive understanding of the power of Uchiha, and his eyes showed deep jealousy. The powerful and fierce-tailed beast was killed by 3 or 2 seconds. Is this the legendary ninja juxtaposed with the ninja god? Well, just these two. A map of the world popped up in Uchiha's mind, and he nodded in agreement. Instead of passing through the land of rain and the land of grass to capture Nanao in the land of Taki no Kuni, it is indeed better to go to the land of Iwa first, and then stop by from Iwahide village to the country of Taki. Shuhei is gone. The disappearance of the crane made the three-tailed beasts present feel a palpitation. The nine-tailed beasts once merged into one, with psychic feelings and a common destiny between them. Therefore, when Iso, Ushi Ghost, and the 9 Lamas learned that Shozuru had been captured by Uchiha, they all felt an unprecedented solemnity and crisis. An ominous aura pervaded the hearts of the tailed beasts. The 9 Lamas have always been the most conceited and arrogant, never taking other soil into account. But when he felt that throbbing, he couldn't help but feel a trace of fear and uneasiness in his heart. He secretly said in his heart, Uchiha is a crazy and evil person, and he will not stop until he achieves his goal. It seems that you have to compromise with Uchiha Obito first. Uchiha will not stop there, he will continue to hunt down the other tailed beasts until all the power of the tailed beasts is collected. In other words, sooner or later it will be your turn. Obito's expression was indifferent, and his voice was calm without the slightest fluctuation. He had long anticipated this scene, and it was only a matter of time before he captured the tailed beast with Madara's strength. The tailed beasts present are all lords who do not see the coffin and do not shed tears, and when freedom and life are threatened, they will unite to help them fight against Uchiha's plot. Bull Ghost, 9 Lama, we are grasshoppers on a rope, and if we don't unite again, we will only end up the same as Shuhei. Isoji calmed his mood and slowly persuaded. The bull Oni suppressed the sadness and anger in his heart and began to re-examine his position and attitude, and he did not want to return to the body of the 10 tails. Chiribi and the cow ghost have a heart-to-heart connection, feel the touch in their hearts, and dance to cheer for their partners. It's not alone, Atsumi will always be there. The cow ghost looked at Kurabi's crappy rap, his heart warmed, and he leaned over to Obito and asked, "Tell me your plan, I am willing to cooperate." Obito said, "The closest to the land of wind is the land of earth. Uchiha's next target should be the 4-tailed Son Goku and the 5-tailed Mu King. You need to immediately go to other countries to gather the other pillars and persuade them to join our camp." Niu Ghost said solemnly, It is not easy to quickly establish a relationship of trust and cooperation, because everyone Zuli has different personalities and ideas, and some even have hostility and suspicion towards Zuli from other villages. As long as there are common goals and interests, consensus and agreement will be reached, just like us. Quote. Unlike Naruto, Obito doesn't have enough time to establish a bond with the tailed beast and make them believe in themselves, and all he can do is know what is at stake. Why don't you stop the war first, so that we can turn the spearhead of the coalition forces and deal with Uchiha together? Kurabi calmly analyzed, his brows furrowed, and his speech was fast and clear. Came up with its own scheme. It's useless, interests and hatred have driven the gears of war to start rolling. Even if we tell you the truth, we can't gain their trust, and time is urgent. Instead of spending time to convince the Four Shadows, it's better to act now. Obito shook his head, negating Kurabi's suggestion. He knows the urine nature of the major villages too well, and the hatred and strife of the ninja world have created a chain of suspicion that cannot be eliminated. Alright. Then let's go now. Kurabi and Ushi Oni were finally persuaded by Obito, and before leaving, they reminded, Kazekage and Chio have gone to capture the daimyo of the Fire Nation. If you are fast enough, you may be able to catch up. Quote. Daimyo. Obito looked grim. Because not long ago, Kakashi rushed to support Konoha's guardian ninja 12. A mountain from the daimyofu of the Land of Fire. I was really blind to support Jiraiya as Hokage. If Shimura Danzo were this Hokage, the war would definitely not have started. The daimyo of the Fire Nation paced back and forth, angrily saying, You guys are such a mess. Do you really dare to be the enemy of the whole world? Asma led the other guardians to kneel on the ground and said lightly, Daimyo, this war belongs to the aggression of the coalition forces. We are the righteous side, so the blame should not be placed on the fourth generation. The daimyo stared at the son of the three generations of Hokage in front of him, and said disdainfully, History is written by the victors, and everything that is white is blackened for you. Who cares if you are unjust? Asma was speechless, and he could argue with a politician by nature. At this moment, Jalu among the 12 warriors suddenly said, Just received the news. Kazekage personally led the shinobi squad to arrest the daimyo. The situation is urgent, and it needs to be transferred immediately. Transfer again. The daimyo frowned, and when he thought of the bumps of riding on the palanquin up the mountain, his stomach tumbled, and he instinctively resisted. The daimyo-sama has a lot of weight, not that you can transfer it. It's better to form a formation on the spot and send a distress signal to the village. Kazuma of the 12 warriors objected. Yes, I agree. You guys will form a formation on the spot. I will find a place to hide, and support until reinforcements come. The daimyo quickly echoed and called, Where else can this soldier be transferred? I don't want to suffer anymore. Asma frowned. I'm afraid that we can't wait for that time. We can give up the weight, change into the appearance of the daimyo with the transformation technique, and then run away separately. Jalu nodded. Asma is right, so that the enemy army must also be captured in groups, and the daimyo has hope to escape. The daimyo flatly refused. No, I can't take any more risks. If you want to run, I'll find a place to hide. Wind Shadow can control the placer gold. Hiding in place will definitely be detected by his sand. Asma said, and hurriedly stepped forward to take up the daimyo. The daimyo screamed, Why, you dare to hold the daimyo hostage? Here comes the man. Kazuma. And 5 other guardian shinobi instantly blocked in front of the daimyo. Asma didn't expect the daimyo to be so stubborn. He had already said the stakes, he still just wanted to wait in place. Come and greet. Kill with 1,000 hands. Chakra. Formed 1,000 hands Guanyin and appeared behind the earth, and the golden chakra fist attacked Kazuma and the others at speed. Jalu, don't do it. Asma hurriedly said. Before the big war, how can it be internal attrition? Asma, extraordinary times are extraordinary means. Once the daimyo is caught, Konoha will be in a dilemma. The daimyo is the monarch of the Land of Fire, and if he controls the daimyo, he can threaten the Hokage to surrender. If the Hokage does not surrender, it is disloyal and unrighteous, and will be spurned by the Fire Country, and if it surrenders, it will be slaughtered by the allied forces. Thinking of this, Dalu Killing decisively shouted. Don't worry, I will grasp the proportions and look angrily. The earth and land stood in place, like Arhat Kong, and a huge fist appeared out of thin air, pounding Kazuma and the others with a fiery red aura. Look at your feet, don't you see any difference in the soil here? Kazuma faced the land with a calm face. Hearing this, Asma noticed that the soil under her feet was too soft, as if she had just turned over. Tu Chuan Sheng. Dead body soil. Quote. And the horse made a one-handed seal. The soil under his feet instantly turned into a pile of fishy wasteland, from which countless rotten arms stretched out, and some of them directly held the ankles of Asma and Jilu and the others. The red fist beside Jilu pounded the dirt on the soles of his feet, revealing the rotting corpses inside. These corpses included civilians and ninjas, and there were many of them. Where did you get so many corpses? Asma was shocked, but he didn't expect Kazuma to hide such a big deal in secret. These are the people who died in the 3 wars, you look at their miserable appearance, they were all caused by the war, and now because of the decision of the Hokage, the Fire Nation has once again fallen into 4 wars. Kazuma shouted angrily. Countless corpses crawled out of the wasteland and staggered towards the earth and Asma and the others. Kazuma, you can't compete with us with these fragile corpses alone, no matter what you think, the daimyo must be transferred, it's too late to come. Asma winked at the earth land and the 4 people behind him. Lei Duan. Thunder Dream Thunderman. Quote. The 4 of Lei Dun joined forces to perform a combination of ninjutsu with amazing power, and the huge thunder blew the wasteland and the corpses inside to pieces, and a scorched smell came from it. This blow alone cracked the killing move that Kazuma had been preparing for an unknown amount of time. How so? And the horse face is shocked. Lei Dun is furious, originally restrained this evil technique, just grab it. And horses. Jilu saw the right time and manipulated the 1,000-hand killer and the radical faction beside him to smash them into the air, and their huge fists knocked them out of battle. Asma looked at the Kazuma who had fallen to the ground, her eyes complicated. They used to be companions, brothers, fighting for the same goal, fighting for the same belief. But now, they are enemies, they parted ways for different ideals, they killed each other for different paths. Kazuma, what you think is too simple. In fact, the land of fire occupies the most fertile land, and as soon as Konoha is attacked, several other villages are ready to move. Kazuma lay on the ground, still insisting on his philosophy. It is precisely because of this that Naruto is an unnecessary existence, and the daimyo should be in direct control of the ninja's military power, so that the country of fire can unify the world. Kazuma, you are too radical. Do you think that you alone can change the relationship between the shinobi village and the country? That will only lead to chaos. Asma said solemnly. You don't deserve to be called Guardian Ninja. Guardian Ninja should only obey the daimyo's command. You are just traitors sent by Naruto to spy on the daimyo. You open your eyes and see, how can such an ordinary person lead Konoha? Asma couldn't bear to point at the daimyo and scolded angrily. At this time, the daimyo was shrinking in the corner, looking at the ninjas with horror in his eyes. Thunder, moving corpses, fists that appear out of thin air, these powerful forces will bring fear to ordinary people. Looking at the cowardly and incompetent daimyo, Kazuma was speechless for a while. He lowered his head in frustration. What everyone in Konoha didn't know was that the Sandyin people had already been in ambush nearby. When Luo Sha and Chio led the sand-hidden shinobi team to rush here, they found that this place had been reduced to a battlefield. The two happened to see the scene of the 1,000 hands killing strike in the horse of the Jilu, so they secretly hidden, and learned from the conversation of Asma and others that the Guardian Ninja 12 were caught in internal strife. I didn't expect that the people of Konoha would have a dispute at this juncture, it's really God bless Sandyin. Chio said. But a few people are tolerant, do it directly. Rosa respected Chio very much and asked her. Up. Chio was the first to attack, and the Tenkanai were directly projected towards the Konoha. The first to bear the brunt was the 4 of Lei Duan. As the elite shinobi, they keenly dodged it. But in the next instant, placer gold condensed under the feet of Exedu and Bizi, firmly binding their feet. Not good. The two widened their eyes, but saw that the Tenkanai collided in the air, reversed their trajectory, as if they were being pulled by something, and pierced their chests. The sudden attack caught Asma and the others by surprise. Jilu shouted angrily and said, You take the daimyo first, I'll drag them down. Can't go, the wind shadow is also coming. Asma smoked a cigarette and he waved the chakra knife. Shinichi text, injecting wind attribute chakra into it, forming a double knife of sharpening iron like mud chakra. Then, the wind ninjutsu accelerated his movement speed, and the figure went straight towards Chiyo. Jilu manipulated the thousand hands to kill directly against Shangluosa. The remaining Nanwu and Dongbian of the four of Lei Dun broke into the Sand Yin Shangnan team alone, and they all showed superb combat skills and physical strength, and they were inseparable from the enemy. Although Chiyo is old, his physical strength cannot be underestimated, and Asma has fought back and forth, and his dexterity does not look like an old woman in the age of flower armor. Fire. Ash accumulates. Seeing that Chiyo could not help Chiyo with physical skills, Asma spat out a cloud of high-temperature soot, shrouded Chiyo, and the soot fell to the ground to produce a scorching high temperature. Naive. A sneer appeared at the corner of Chiyo's mouth, and her combat experience made her judge that she wanted to use long-range ninjutsu the moment she saw Asma's seal, and she had already flashed out of place. Wind escape. The art of wind and dust. Quote. Under the cover of thick ash accumulation, a cloud of dust pierced through the ash accumulation and quickly attacked Chiyo. Organ shield seal. Chiyo transformed his chakra into a shield, blocking the lightning strike, and exclaimed. Is ash burning just a feint? Obstructing my view. And then sneak attack. It is worthy of being the son of Shinio Konoha, and he has a bit of a brain. Quote. Sand hides organ shield seal. But the organ shield seal needs a puppet to release, how can this old woman? Seeing that he couldn't hit a blow, Asma looked at Chiyo suspiciously, and suddenly his pupils shrank, noticing that Chiyo's hand had also been transformed into a puppet. He lost his voice. You are Chiyo of Sunahide village. It's old age. Chiyo stared at Asma coldly. She did not have the slightest good impression of Konoha, because her son and daughter-in-law died at the hands of Konoha in the 3 battles, so this time the 4 battles, she directly asked for battle. The first puppeteer in the ninja world, Chiyo, plus the wind shadow, is 2 shadow levels, and there is a kind of upper ninja squad. And their own side has just had infighting, and the difference in combat power is huge. Asma quickly analyzed the situation of the battle, exclaiming that he had fallen into the Jedi in despair. Glancing to the other side, Dongbian and Nanwu were fighting with the shinobi squad of Sunain, and both sides refused to give in. Sparks splashed, flesh and blood flew everywhere, ninjutsu were intertwined, and the puppet shattered. At this moment, a bolt of lightning broke through the sky, and then 1,000 birds chirped throughout the audience. A white-haired Konoha boy appeared at the scene. White Fang. Chiyo's pupils contracted suddenly, and she screamed in a lost voice, and a crazy killing intent emerged, making her whole body tremble. Return my life. Chiyo screamed and slammed into Kakashi, his elbow drooping and a steel thorn sticking out and straight into Kakashi's heart. Kakashi's eyes were rolling with blood chakra, and Chiyo's movements slowed down by 3 points, and he quickly took a step to the right, barely dodging the attack. Huh. Blood chakra eyes, you are not White Fang. Chiyo, who lost his mind in a momentary rage, immediately came to his senses and muttered, yes, White Fang is dead, but Uchiha should be all black-haired, who are you? Quote. Wind escape. Emerald wind. Asma remotely controlled the chakra knife flying towards Chiyo, one stabbing at the heart and the other at the head. Ding. 2 puppets appeared in front of Chiyo and shot away the whistling chakra knife. Chiyo pulled back, and a puppet with a son and daughter-in-law appeared suspended in front of her. This is a puppet made by Chiyo's own grandson Scorpion when she was a child, nostalgic for her late father and mother, and she transformed it and has good strength. White-haired little ghost, answer me, who the hell are you? Chiyo stared into Kakashi's eyes and asked word by word. Uchiha's iconic blood wheel eyes, and the appearance that is extremely similar to the killer, there is a faint guess in her heart. My name is Kiki Kakashi, and White Fang is my father. Kakashi was highly focused and did not dare to relax in the slightest. As a veteran powerhouse in Sand Hidden Village, Chiyo is undoubtedly a shadow-level strength. Even if he and Asma join forces, the odds of victory are still not great. Sure enough, the wind shadow side will soon see each other, and I will also speed up and slaughter you both. Exercise. 1 heart and 1 mind. Chiyo flew over with 2 puppets of the Scorpion father and the Scorpion mother, both of whom were armed with katanas, chain blades, and steel wires. The 2 sides immediately collided together, and a fierce fire fight began. Chiyo danced with both hands and made an afterimage, and the two puppets connected by chakra thread constantly attacked Kakashi and the two. To be able to manipulate two puppets at the same time to make such a complex attack is worthy of Chiyo Sand-yin. The chakra knife in Asma's hand swung quickly, resisting the attack of the puppet. The puppet is not flesh and blood. The two sides are in a fight, even if they do not fall behind for the time being. When Cheyenne solves the companions, it is when they are defeated. Although the two successfully coped with the various attacks of the puppets, they also paid a considerable price. Their bodies suffered multiple injuries, their clothes were torn and burned, and they were physically and mentally exhausted, which made them feel stressed. Kakashi. Asma gave Kakashi a solemn look. The battle was fierce, with sparks in the air and sonorous sounds. I can't help it. Although Kakashi saw through the puppet's attack route with his chakra eyes, he could only barely keep up with their attack speed, and it was extremely difficult to defend, let alone counterattack. Just as the stalemate was reached, a shout came. The guardian Shinobu and the horse who fell to the ground actually attacked the two with their knives again. Kazuma, what are you doing? The great enemy is current, do you still need infighting? Asma roared. I don't want to, my body is out of control. It's Chiyo. Chiyo controlled him. Through the blood chakra eye, Kakashi saw a blue chakra thread connecting Kazuma's body, as if connected to a puppet. The two suddenly felt the pressure multiplied. No matter what, Kazuma was Konoha's ninja and their companion, and it was difficult for the two to start after all. Ah! Two screams came, and the remaining two of Lei Dun 4 also fell in a pool of blood, and more than a dozen Sand-yin Shangnan turned their targets. Half went to besiege Jiraku, and the other half also manipulated the puppets towards Kakashi. No way. Kakashi's eyes fell into a desperate situation, the red light of his left eye bloomed, and the three-hook jade blood wheel eye transformed into a kaleidoscope blood wheel eye, and blood and tears flowed down. The gigantic Susanoo appeared in front of everyone and wrapped Kakashi and Asma in. After all these years of growth, Kakashi's Susanoo has also entered the second form. Ah! What is it? Feeling the terrifying aura coming from Susanoo, the Sand-yin people suddenly felt their own insignificance and shouted in horror. Susanoo. Won't Uchiha pursue the origin of your eye? Quote. Chiyo has lived a long time, and naturally has heard of Susanoo's famous name. Answering her were two shurikens condensed by Susanoo's power, which shot straight at her with great power. The sand-hidden people manipulated their puppet to block Chiyo's body and fend off the blow for her. The shuriken destroyed all the puppets, including the scorpion father and the scorpion mother, and still attacked the sand-hidden people with the aftermath. Seeing that the people of Sand-yin were about to be killed by this blow, a wall of sand gold blocked in front of them. It turned out that Luo Sha on the side came to support. Although Jalu's 1,000-hand kill could contain him, it was blocked by his fist made of placer gold, unable to cause substantial damage to him. I thought Chiyo would be enough to deal with you, but I didn't expect. Cage looked at Susanoo, his face calm. In his perception, although the Susanoo in front of him is powerful, it is not as powerful as the tailed beast, and he can even suppress the Shozuru. How can he be afraid of a small Susanoo? Wind Shadow, leave it to me. Chiyo didn't want Cage to interfere and wanted to blade Kakashi. Luo Sha frowned, but still compromised with Chiyo. Okay. Better hurry. This is the ninjutsu that I once disabled with my own hands, and now it seems that I can only use it again. Chiyo took out a scroll from the package and pulled it open, and 10 puppets dressed in white appeared. White secret technique. Near the 10 crowd. Quote. It's the masterpiece of the puppet ancestor Bunzoiman, the 10 people of Kanmatsu, and Chiyo-sama once captured a city with this puppet. Among the Sandian crowd present, there were many disciples of Chiyo, looking at the 10 near pine flying in the air with adoration. That was the strongest puppet in the entire ninja world, and was known as 1,000 existences. Chiyo connected a puppet with one finger and spun around Kakashi's Susanoo. Kakashi and Asma were unfamiliar with the daimyo of this puppet's secret technique, but when they heard the words of the Sunahide people, they also felt the extraordinary of the 10. Phew. Countless sounds of breaking the air came, and 10 ghost-like puppet figures came towards Susanoo. Kakashi didn't dare to be careless, waving his arms at the attacking puppet. Chiyo's 10 fingers danced nimbly, and the Tenman dodged Susa's attack and flew along their arms to Susanoo's chest, where Kakashi and Asma stood. Bang bang. Several collisions were heard. Chiyo and Kakashi were horrified at the same time. Chiyo was surprised by Susanoo's defensive power, and praised. It is worthy of being called a force that integrates attack and defense, but unfortunately you are young, it is estimated that you can't summon it to full power. A fine sweat broke out between Kakashi's foreheads, because he keenly felt that there was a faint crack at the point where the 10 people of Kanmatsu attacked continuously. Kakashi, leave the puppet alone. The thief captures the king first, and directly attacks the puppeteer. Ignoring the attack of the Kanmatsu 10, Kakashi slammed a punch at Chiyo. Magnetism. Sand Desert Rebel Slave. The placer gold in the sky turned into a pair of giant hands and firmly held Susanoo's swinging right fist. Wind Shadow, I said don't meddle. Chiyo pulled back and frowned. The legendary Susa can soar heaven and earth, destroying everything with one blow. This white-haired little ghost Susa has not yet evolved to that level. As long as I open the distance, he can't help me. Chiyo, quick victory, my third eye sees a powerful existence. Luo Sha looked solemn. Who is it? A ninja in Konoha. Chiyo's 10 fingers flew and accelerated the attack of the Kanmatsu 10. Susanoo's right hand is bound and can only be swung with his left hand, but the 10 people of Kanmatsu are like maggots with bones, constantly fighting around Susa. I don't know, the other party masters space-time ninjutsu, even my third eye, can't keep up with his speed. Hearing this, Chiyo looked moved. The third eye of the Wind Shadow is condensed into an eye with placer gold for reconnaissance, because there is no quality, it can fly to track the target, and such a speed cannot keep up with the opponent. Wouldn't it be Konoha's yellow flash? In short, resolve the battle quickly and do not delay any longer. Luo Sha shook his head, he couldn't determine the identity of the other party. Got it. Puppetry. 3 treasures sucked down. The 3 puppets formed a triangular array, turned on the Buddha, Dharma, and sang, and a violent tornado formed, but the target was not the huge Susanoo, but the land that was almost at the limit. Jalu's attention has been focused on Luo Sha's body, and he was suddenly swept in by a tornado, and his body was like a soft-footed shrimp, which was sucked towards the puppet. The huge pressure compressed his flesh, and under the whirlwind, the blood from his whole body rushed into his brain wildly, and his eyeballs were red from excessive congestion. Seeing this, Kakashi ignored the white puppet besieging him, and stretched out Susa's left hand to grab Jiriku's body. Magnetism. Sand Monster Wrist. The placer gold condensed into a huge fist and bombarded Susa's left hand, deflecting its position. Jalu's hands gripped the ground tightly, eager to stop his figure, but the huge suction force still sucked him towards the center of the tornado vortex inch by inch. Bloody hands dragged out 10 long bloodstains on the ground, seeing that the ground was about to be sucked into the center of the storm and strangled. Boom. A figure used his flesh to knock off a white puppet that cast the 3 treasures, but it was the horse who had recovered his free body. In the next instant, blood splattered, and Kazuma's body was pierced by the weapons in the hands of the other 2 white puppets, and the blade split his body into 3 segments. Kazuma's skull rolled to the side, looking at his brutally beheaded body and the saved land, his face was pale, and his eyelids were half-pulled and died. Although there were disagreements, Asuma was deeply touched to see Kazuma die to save his companions. He directly rushed out of Susanoo, condensed the wind attribute chakra on the chakra knife in his right hand, and his speed skyrocketed, killing Chiyo with one blow. It's not that his brain is hot, the situation has reached this point, the sand is cut with a blunt knife, Kakashi Susanoo disappears, and what awaits them is the end of being killed in seconds. At this time, Chiyo and Rasa were busy dealing with Kakashi's Susanoo. As long as his sneak attack was successful, Konoha's pressure could be reduced by more than half. Seal. The lion roars. Asuma apparently underestimated Chiyo's insight. Chiyo, who can manipulate 10 puppets at the same time, has a mental attention that is not comparable to ordinary shadow levels. A white puppet lion's head grew larger in the wind, and it opened its large mouth full of fangs to bite Asuma in midair. Asuma slammed head-on into the lion's head, and fangs made of sharp blades pierced his body and nailed to the trunk of a tree. Asuma's internal organs were pierced by spikes, especially the kidneys on both sides, and blood flowed out along the spikes, staining the puppet lion's head red. Chiyo, he is the son of the 3rd generation of Hokage, keep him as a hostage. Luo Sha stood with his hands in his hands, and the battle was here, and it was almost over. Don't worry. The old medical skills are enough to keep him from dying. Quote. In addition to being a top puppeteer, Chio is also a top medical ninja. He has developed an antidote to restrain the poison of Hanzo of the pepperfish, and is the old enemy of the former leader of Yuyan village. This kid is already at the end of the strong crossbow. He will retain his left eye for a while. It is not simple to open Susanoo's kaleidoscopic blood chakra eye in one eye, go back and transplant it to the genius in the village, and there will be one more shadow-level powerhouse. Chio looked coldly at Kakashi, who was fixed in shape and could only passively withstand the attacks of the 10 people of Kanmatsu, with fierce hatred in his eyes. If it weren't for White Fang killing her son and daughter-in-law, her grandson Scorpion would not have run away from home, until she was old and childless, desolate and miserable. Although the grudges of the previous generation should not be passed on to the next generation, but just in time for the Fourth War, you should go to the dirty soil to meet your dead ghost father. Chio's 2 sleeves were angry, dancing the 10 fingers to the extreme. Chakra desperately rushed to the white puppet through the chakra silk thread, and along with her crazy dancing hands, the attack of the 10 people of Kanmatsu also reached an unprecedented level. Kakashi's Susanoo had long been unable to maintain its second form, degenerated into a skeleton form, and now dissipated in the face of a crazy attack, without supporting a few breaths. Sign! Chio shouted, and the 10 people of Kanmatsu flew towards Kakashi, who fell from the air, and this blow could unload him in 8 pieces. Kamui. At the moment of thunder, a space-time vortex appeared out of thin air, twisting Chio's neck, and it only took another moment to unscrew her head alive. Chio, who had fallen into madness, did not realize that death was approaching, and stared at Kakashi with dead eyes. Boom. 2 sounds of hitting the ground came. One sound came from Kakashi, but the other was Chio being knocked away by the placer gold of the wind shadow. Don't you feel ashamed that 2 long-known shadow-level bullies won Shangnan? Obito jumped down and blocked Kakashi's body, and the robe condensed by the 3-tailed chakra slowly fluttered, kicking the 10 people of Kanmatsu who had lost control one by one. Kakashi looked at Obito's back and thought for a moment that it was Hokage wearing an imperial robe. Magnetism. Placer gold burial. Luo Sha immediately confirmed Obito's identity, and all kinds of information about Obito instantly appeared in his mind, about abilities, character weaknesses, personal bonds, and so on. Without too much nonsense, he directly poured the whole body magnetic chakra into the ground, creating a large field of placer gold like sea water under Obito and Kakashi's feet. Countless placer gold rushed to Obito and Kakashi from all directions like ocean waves, and a huge deep pit engulfed the two, and the weight of the placer gold was enough to crush the two into meat sauce. Cage expected that Obito, who was very sentimental, would not leave Kakashi into a virtual state, and this moment was undoubtedly the best moment to attack him. Dead. Chio staggered over to Rasha. It's not that simple. Luo Sha shook his head, his eyes fixed on the huge bunker. The next second, there was movement in the bunker, as if something was wriggling in it. A cold and powerful chakra gushed out wildly, and I saw 3 long tails covered with gray scales and spikes emerge from the bunker. This is tailed beasts. The Sandian people retreated in horror, dodging the 3 long tails that were dancing in the air. 3-tailed Iso, completely tailed beast. He actually mastered such power. What a terrifying opponent. Luo Sha and Chio looked solemn and recognized Isoji at a glance. With a low roar, a one-eyed turtle with a huge body and a body full of thorns burst out of the placer gold pit. Shadow Caress. Obito has no nonsense, and directly uses the strongest body technique of Iso. Isoji arched up, the heavy tortoise shell on his back wrapped his whole body, rolling as fast as a wheel, and his huge size and weight easily crushed the ground and plowed a deep ravine. Spread out. Luo Sha gestured and ordered the Sha Yin crowd to disperse. The human body is not as big as a spike on Iso's body, and even if he is a shadow-level strength, he does not dare to use his flesh to hard catch this blow. How did Miao become so strong? Chio jumped up and stepped on the tray formed by the condensation of placer gold in midair. The strength of the tailed beast with human pillar power is not the same, far beyond the combat power of the body. Rosa also flew onto another pallet and stayed in the air with Chio. Do you two only know how to bully the small with the big? Obito stopped Iso's rolling body and looked coldly at Rasa and Chio in the air through Iso's one-eyed eyes. The news has been transmitted to the base camp of the coalition army through the scroll. As long as you drag Uchiha with the soil here, and wait for the shadow-level powerhouses in the coalition army to gather, you will definitely be able to kill this officer. Chio whispered to Rasha. Luo Sha nodded secretly and asked, Uchiha Obito, I admit that you are powerful, but in front of the entire Ninja Realm Alliance, how many chances do you have of victory? If I lose, what are the chances of the coalition winning? Obito sneered. Iso's body jumped up, and his huge tail whipped towards the Sand Yinjiang who remained below. A tooth for a tooth, blood for blood. In the face of the Sunahide people who killed Konoha's guardian Shinobu, he will not be the slightest bit soft. Iso's huge tail swept towards the sand like an iron whip, and everywhere it passed, trees were destroyed and dirt splashed. The Cheyenne crowd scattered in horror, still a little unable to dodge, and was hit by the fatal blow, and his body flew into the distance like a cannonball. Bring soil, don't overdo it, be careful that hatred is irreparable. In the spirit world, Isoji comforted Obito with a cold face. There is nothing to say with this group of invaders, if you don't show strength, you can't deter them, Obito said awe-inspiringly. If you are reasonable, he will play hooligan with you, and if you play hooligans, he will reason with you. Quote. Tailed Beast Jade. The yin and yang chakra is compressed into a ball in a certain proportion, and the purple-black glow is shocking. He's crazy. Chio screamed, cast the tailed beast Jade in such a narrow place, aren't you afraid to blow up the daimyo of the Fire Nation? Rosa directly manipulated the ascent of the placer gold tray under his feet. Isoji raised his head, and the tailed beast Jade in his mouth aimed into the air and launched directly. It was a purple-black energy ball condensed into substance, containing palpitating power. Sha Yin looked up and saw the tailed beast Jade exploding in the air. The dazzling light was like another sun, and the temperature around it rose instantly, making their skin feel a hot burning sensation. After the deafening sound, their internal organs seemed to have been hammered, and many people directly sprayed out a mouthful of blood. What made them even more devastated was that the Wind Shadow and Chio in the air were missing. No, my lords. He's dead. Quote. Some of the Cheyenne people collapsed weakly on the ground. Wind Shadow Luosa is their spiritual pillar. Chio is the top combat power of Sand Hidden Village. If you lose these two shadow-level powerhouses all of a sudden, even if you win the war, Cheyenne will not be able to compete with other villages. Without the shadow-level Cheyenne village, how is its strength different from those small countries? Your shadow is not dead yet. A voice came, listening to the ears of the Cheyenne people like a heavenly sound, once again giving them hope and strength. Strangely, the source of the voice was their enemy, Uchiha Obito. Obito turned his head to look to the other side of the air. Sand Shield. Somewhat similar to my Eluos, it seems that the defense power of the Sand Shield with the addition of placer gold is higher than that of the Sand Shield composed purely of sand. Quote. The thick shield made of placer gold in the air is much harder than steel, but at this moment, it has been blown apart by more than half. Luo Sha, I didn't expect your sand escape and sand armor defense to be so outstanding. Chio, who survived the disaster, marveled. No, he missed it. Luo Sha knew the defensive power of his sand shield very well. Although the sand shield composed of sand gold was amazingly defensive, it was absolutely impossible to resist the bombardment of the tailed beast Jade. He intuitively felt that the two of them were just on the verge of exploding. Impossible, how could he make such a mistake? Chio disagreed with Ross's analysis. How could such a low-level mistake be made in a duel of such strength? Obito, you are the first person I have seen who can master the pillar power of the tailed beast Jade without practice, but it is more perfect to control it a little more accurately. Isoto said towards Obito. Stupid, this little devil did it on purpose. Although I don't know how he instantly mastered the tailed beast Jade, I can feel that his malice towards the two of Cheyenne is not to the point of killing the other party. The 9 llamas also entered the consciousness of Obito. Kill a few upper shinobi, Sandyin will only swallow his anger. Kill Kage and Chio, the interest will be different, it will lead to an unending situation. Even if the war subsides, Konoha and Sand Yin will form a feud in the future. Obito explained to the two puzzled tailed beasts. So it is. It dawned on me. The picture of being educated by the 6 immortals when he was a child suddenly gave birth to in his heart. You humans are acting in trouble. The 9 llamas scoffed and withdrew from the group chat with disdain. Magnetism. Quicksand waterfall. Quote. When Obito was talking to the two-tailed beasts, the ground under his feet instantly turned into a desert, and the violent sand waves were like flowing sea levels, causing Iso's body to rise and fall. Magnetism. Sand coffin. The monstrous sand waves surrounded Iso's body, and although it could not completely control its movements, it slowed down its speed. Magnetism. Hellsand buried. Iso's body sank instantly, and he was buried hundreds of meters underground. Obito and Isoji instantly don't know whether they are alive or dead. 1. We won. Sha Yin Zhang looked at the slightly panting Wind Shadow, and a look of adoration appeared on his face. The next moment, the expression on his face instantly froze. Wrapped in inky jade battle armor, Isoji flew out of the bunker, with wings on his back, like a nether Xuanwu. Aren't you guys happy too soon? The sound of bringing earth made everyone present fall into an ice cave. What is it? Kansusa care. Why is it covered on the body of the tailed beast? Sha Yin subconsciously retreated, swallowed his spit, and the scene in front of them made them unbelievable. I saw Susanoo covering the whole body of the 3 tails, like a pitch-black jade-like battle armor, exuding a strong aura, like a ghost beast crawling out of the abyss. The oppressive force brought by the huge size gap should not be underestimated. Just standing in front of the mighty Susanoo, everyone in Cheyenne felt breathless, let alone the idea of confronting him. So, since just now, Uchiha Obito hasn't used his full strength. The Cheyenne people are all strictly trained upper ninja, but at this moment, they feel that their legs are soft, their scalp is numb, cold sweat is slipping from their foreheads, and their eyes reveal deep horror and unease. At this moment, they are no longer thinking about how to deal with the enemy in front of them, and the powerful means of Obito have exceeded their understanding. With no fighting intent, they could not care about the presence of Wind Shadow Luosa, and instinctively wanted to escape. Just a tailed beast is already very difficult, plus this Susanoo, how can this fight? But can we really run? Don't forget, after the disappearance of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows, how the ninja world bullied us Shahide. If Lord Luo Sha makes any mistakes again, the consequences can be imagined. An endless stream of voices sounded in Chio's ears, mostly the sounds of running away. The general trend is gone, withdraw. Wind Shadow. I'm afraid that if we can't support the arrival of the coalition army, we will be completely destroyed by him. Quote. Well, you led them to go first, and I'll stay behind. Can Luo Xian not know the gap in combat power between the 2 sides? No, without you, the village will fall into chaos again, or I'll break it off. Chio flatly vetoed, and as soon as this remark came out, it immediately aroused the support of the rest of the Sandyan crowd. Yes, Lord Wind Shadow, if you want to go, you are also going, how can you break the back for us? Without you presiding over the overall situation, Cheyenne will be leaderless again. Let's go, Kazekage-sama. The Cheyenne crowd blocked in front of Luo Sha in unison, looking up at the huge Isoji as if they were dead. How long can you stop him together? This kind of power is comparable to the gods, you are not his enemies, Luo Sha ordered solemnly. Chio, take them and leave, this is the order of the Wind Shadow. This. Chio looked at Luo Sha in embarrassment, his eyes flickering, and he fell into hesitation. Only my placer gold can stop him for a moment, let's go. If you don't leave, it's too late. As soon as the words fell, Luo Sha poured the chakra of his whole body into the ground, and used the magnetic escape to create a huge amount of placer gold again. Then all the placer gold poured around him, and quickly condensed into a placer gold giant, whose body shone with golden light, exuding unparalleled coercion, and the height could be faintly in at eye level. Its hands held 2 huge placer gold knives, the blades were extremely sharp and shining. His eyes stared indifferently at Iso, this was Luo Sha's strongest killing move and his last hope. Wind Shadow, even if you die, you must leave a whole corpse. Chio shouted at Rasha. Seeing Luo Sha make this move, she knew that she could not stop it, and now it is mainly to retain the combat power of Sha Yin to the maximum, not the time to hesitate her mother-in-law. Obito did not stop Chio from leaving with the sand-hidden people, and praised, Kazekage, it seems that your prestige in the village is very high, They are all willing to die for you, and getting everyone's approval is a necessary condition for becoming a shadow. Less nonsense, how can people like you understand this kind of righteousness of sacrificing for the village and the people? Luo Sha scolded, his tone full of pride. Joke. I have done the slightest thing to hurt the ninja world from beginning to end. It was you who chased the wind and united to invade Konoha. Why do you still have an expression of sacrificing your life for righteousness? Obito moved his liver fire, and said with a mocking face, if this battle of Konoha fails, you coalition forces who carry out aggressive actions under the banner of justice will probably eat away at Konoha, right? Luo Sha's face froze, and he asked rhetorically, lesson this demon talk to confuse everyone, who in the entire ninja world does not know your Mooneye plan. Since you claim to be righteous, then take it. Obito snorted coldly, the position is different, it is useless to talk more. Iso, who was blessed by Susanoo, held the long knife of ink jade and rushed towards the placer gold giant, and the placer gold giant also swung a golden giant blade. The two collided together, and a time-space vortex gushed out from the ink jade long knife, peeling off the placer gold giant blade layer by layer. Not only that, in the competition of strength, the placer gold giant also occupies the upper hand, and with the elimination of the placer gold giant blade, the body is also blessed with Susanoo's tailed beast giant force and loses its balance. Kamui. Chop! Obito shouted. The black jade long knife actually cut the placer gold into two parts, and the lower body of the placer gold, which had lost the support of the magnetic chakra, suddenly fell to the ground like a huge sand sculpture. The upper body lost the support of the legs, fell to the ground due to inertia, could not support the body, and fell to pieces. Terrifying power. It's me who is not as good as others. Luo Sha fell to the ground, gasping for air, and using a wide range of ninjutsu one after another, which made him exhausted and completely lost his combat effectiveness. Obito put away the power of Susanoo, and completely removed the tail beast, and restored the body. He slowly walked in front of Luo Sha and looked down at the wind shadow of Cheyenne village lying on his back in the posture of a victor. Luo Sha maintained the dignity of Feng Ying, and said coldly, kill me, I will die, and I will not be your prisoner. I don't kill dying people. Obito said calmly. Luo Sha didn't know what medicine was sold in the soil gourd, and said angrily, are you kidding me? To tell you the news, during the time you were out of the nest, Ichigo Morizuru has been captured and taken away by Uchiha. Nani? Is that what you're here for? You, the Avatar Messenger, attract the attention of the ninja world for him, and then he takes the opportunity to collect the tailed beast. Quote. Luo Sha knew the news that Konoha was attacked by Uchiha Madara and was not surprised by his existence, but he didn't expect the speed of the other party to be so fast. Whatever you think. There you go. Quote. Are you really going to let me go? Luo Sha thought that Obito would take himself as a hostage, and also thought that he would kill himself directly, but he didn't expect that he would really let himself go. Seeing that Obito didn't look like he was deceiving himself, he asked puzzled, why? If Uchiha succeeds and the entire ninja world will perish, what's the point of me killing one more you? Obito turned his back and rescued Asma from the lion's head, and then put everyone in the divine power space, and then slowly disappeared into the time-space vortex. Again, I'm not a stand-in for Uchiha. At dusk, the sun, like a ruby, slowly sinks into the horizon, leaving a deep afterglow that stains the clouds of the sky. From top to bottom, the people of Cheyenne were not in the mood to enjoy this magnificent view, and fatigue and frustration were etched on the faces of each of them. An angry shout came from the tent at the base camp. Wind Shadow is dead. Looking at Chio, who was embarrassed, I and the others all changed their faces. If they hadn't heard the news from the mouth of the elder Chio, the Shadow's present would have been hard to believe. Chio grimaced and recounted the specific history of the battle heavily. When he learned that Obito could not only completely tail the beast, but also cover Uchiha's Susanoo on Iso's body, the atmosphere was even more dignified. Onoki sighed. I didn't expect that within a few days of the war, the Wind Shadow would die. The strength of Uchiha Obito is beyond our imagination, and I am afraid that it will be difficult for any of us to match him. Quote. Luo Sha's strength is ranked among all the shadows, but he still died at the hands of Obito, and it will be the same ending for other shadows. Yakura's eyes were solemn, and he said his thoughts. I think I have to change my tactics, and I can't act alone in the future, otherwise I will only be defeated one by Uchiha Obito. At this moment, Lei Ying's secretary Azabui quietly put his chest against Ai's arm and whispered something in Ai's ear. Nani? Kurabi also encountered Uchiha Obito. Lei Ying stood up excitedly. Kurabi was not only Union's human pillar force to him, but also a brother-like existence. Azabui gave Lei Ying a roll of his eyes, and seeing that everyone's eyes were around him, he suddenly became embarrassed. Some news is not suitable for public announcement. Before Lei Ying realized his gaffe, he said towards Azabui, "It's okay." Azabu said directly. Lord Kurabi said that he is going to travel around the world. Lei Ying was stunned after listening to it. He was ready to accept the bad news, but he didn't expect such a reversal. His nerves relaxed, and he suddenly became angry, and stormed the aisle. This fool actually ran out to play at this time. Unforgivable, prepare to accept my claws. Quote. Why didn't Uchiha Obito make a move on the eight-tailed man's pillar force, and the killer bee is still in the mood to play now? Onoki asked suspiciously. Just the fact that Uchiha took the soil to release Kurabi is suspicious enough, plus Kurabi ran away privately, anyone will suspect Union. Although my younger brother is greedy for fun, he will never drop the chain in the face of major events, he must have some purpose. Lei Ying's explanation was obviously unconvincing, and he couldn't think of a reason, so he could only signal his number one secretary, Azabui. Azabui rolled his eyes back, with an expression of, "Who asked you to let me announce?" The scene suddenly became embarrassing, and at this time a tired figure walked in from outside, and everyone present was like a ghost. Luo Sha. Chio was overjoyed and surprised. Cage. You're not dead. Quote. Fang Kai, she has already made up her mind and led the Sand Yin people to secretly sneak into Konoha, seize the body of the Wind Shadow, and then use the forbidden technique. Resurrected him with rebirth, but he didn't expect Luo Sha to appear in front of him decently. Uchiha Obito didn't kill me. Luo Sha was too consumed in battle, and the speed of returning was a little slower, and he turned his head to the shadows and said, he told me the news that Shozuru was captured by Uchiha Madara. Yakura frowned. Aren't they in the same group? Onoki touched his beard and thought, maybe the two of them have a disagreement. Luo Sha listened to the opinions of the two and listened to Chio talk about Kurabi, and the doubts in his heart became even heavier. If Uchiha took the soil and let him go because he disdained to kill himself, then it couldn't be said that he let go of the eight-tailed man Zuli, wasn't the tailed beast his goal. Seeing that everyone was puzzled, Yakura said directly, everyone, I propose to immediately gather forces and launch a direct general attack on Konoha. If it is delayed any longer, I am afraid that something will change. Then smash the yellow dragon directly kill Konoha village, force Uchiha to take the soil to fight us decisively, and then turn back together to fight Uchiha Madara. The warlike Lei Ying suddenly boiled with enthusiasm, his eyes lit up, a maniacal smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and his burly body trembled with excitement. The body emitted a strong electric light, making the surrounding air vibrate, and the whole person was like a violent beast, just wanting to enjoy the thrill of fighting. Just what I want. Yakura bowed his head, his eyes flashed with determination, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a confident smile. Compared with Lei Ying, he appeared more calm, like a sharp arrow ready to attack, exuding a firm belief. I'm okay with that. Luo Sha also nodded. The sand-hidden village had lost the Shuhei. He had nothing to lose, he desperately needed a victory to make up for some losses from the Fire Nation. Everyone's eyes were on Onoki, and he was the only one in the audience who did not vote. Onoki frowned, his lips pursed, and his eyes wandered, making people feel the struggle in their hearts. His vote will determine Iwain's future fate, so he is caught in a dilemma. Uchiha's next target must be the Land of Earth, the closest country to the Land of the Wind. Now he is leading the Yenian people back to defense, maybe he can catch up. If he agrees to the general attack, he will undoubtedly give up the two-tailed beasts. If the war is won, if the country of Earth does not recapture these two-tailed beasts, it is undoubtedly the most damaged side, and its strength will be greatly reduced. But now if Iwain withdraws, the mighty coalition army will collapse on the spot, and then it will be broken by Uchiha Obito one by one, and it will also face death. None of the others present urged Onoki, and if this kind of Armageddon was not fully determined, it would only lead to a mutiny at the end of the battle. Onoki thought for a long time, and suddenly, an electric light flashed in his mind, and a name that had been ignored by everyone appeared in his mind again. Uchiha Madara. Onoki once again remembered the fear of being dominated by Uchiha when he was young. That kind of combat power comparable to the gods, is it really something he can resist? Thinking about it, he made up his mind and said, "It is not easy for several villages to unite once, and if this time fails, there should be no next time. Compared to the loss of the tailed beast, the safety of the entire ninja world is more important, and after destroying the Uchiha Obito, it is not too late for us to go back together to fight against Uchiha Madara." Quote. Onoki's vote made everyone breathe a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that Onoki would give up the general attack and return to the country of Earth, so that the coalition army would fall apart in an instant. Yoshi, then gather troops and blow the total trumpet. The afterglow of the setting sun stained the sky red, and it reflected on Obito's body, and he traveled through forest after forest, over mountain after mountain, and finally arrived at a makeshift field hospital in Konoha. Unexpectedly, the field hospital was also a mess, filled with the groans and wails of the wounded, and the agitated sounds of medical ninjas. The remains, blood and fragments of the body of the deceased were scattered on the ground, and the air was filled with the smell of blood and death. What's going on? He saw a little girl wearing the Uchiha family's ninja suit, with long black hair and the Uchiha family's characteristic Sharingan. Obito recognizes her identity, Izumi Uchiha, the little girlfriend of the future Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Izumi was tearful in his eyes, his face was full of dust and sweat, and he said aggrievedly, "Patriarch, we were attacked, but fortunately Tsunade-sama's disciples arrived in time." Obito wiped the dust off Izumi's face and tried to maintain a gentle expression, which village did it? Seeing that the lives of his clansmen were threatened, a nameless fire arose in his heart, and although he tried his best to restrain himself, there was still a trace of ferocity in his eyes. "I don't know, they are all wearing black cloaks, and they destroyed the bodies before evacuating." Uchiha Izumi shook his head, seemed to think of a detail, and guessed, "I think the other party may be familiar with our identity, because they moved to Konoha's ninja from the beginning, and there is no flaw." When Obito heard this, his eyes flickered, and many doubts sprang up in his heart. The location here is hidden, even if it is him, he searched for half a day according to the map to find here, did the other party happen to find it? Why destroy the corpse, for fear of being discovered? So, who are they really? Who's in charge here? Is it muted? Obito asked, and Fenkai Uchiha Izumi mentioned Tsunade's disciple, that is, Shizune. As far as he knew, Shizune's medical level was also outstanding, especially the one-handed healing regeneration technique, which was just enough to heal the few injured people in the Shinwei space. Unexpectedly, Izumi shook his head and said a name that made Obito's spirit trance, "It's Lord Rin." He asked uncertainly, "Rin Nohara?" Izumi nodded obediently. Obito's heart beat faster, he pressed Izumi's shoulder, and a red-tailed beast chakra poured into Izumi's body, forming a layer of tailed beast clothing. Izumi had just experienced a battle, plus assisting in transporting and treating the wounded, and there was already little physical strength and chakra left, but at this moment, he felt a warm and powerful force pouring into his body, filling himself, and couldn't help but ask in surprise. "Patriarch. This is, quote, tailed beast coat, go get busy, don't fall into the name of our Uchiha." Obito touched Izumi's head affectionately, and then continued to walk towards the inside of the field hospital. His eyes searched the crowd, and after a long time, he finally saw the dream girl among several guards. Wearing a green vest and a strong suit, she is none other than Rin Nohara, who was recalled by Tsunade from the wet bone forest. Nohara Rinduin sat in the middle of a formation, his body chakra steaming, through the division of slugs, to perform palm cactus treatment on the injured. Due to the large number of injured, Lin kept exporting chakra, her physical strength and chakra were extremely consumed, her pretty face became pale, and her body was trembling slightly, but she still gritted her teeth and persisted. Obito's heart tightened, and he instantly stepped behind him, attaching a layer of tailed beast coat to her to relieve Rin's pressure. "What people?" The guards beside Lin reacted, staring at Obito in shock, drawing their knives and ready to attack at any time. "It's me, Uchiha Obito," Obito said lightly. After carefully confirming Obito's identity, the guards breathed a sigh of relief, and after respectfully saluting, they made room for the two of them to make room for a more spacious position. Slug. Gang healing partner. The wounded around them were covered with small slugs, and the crystal green light treated them, and Obito recognized the medical ninjutsu that Rin had performed. He released all the wounded in Kamui space, including Kakashi, Asuma, and Shisui. After a while, a group of white slugs crawled from afar, like white lines, slowly moving on the ground. This is Nohara Rin's psychic beast, one of the three fears from the wet bone forest, slugs. The baby slugs crawl onto the wounded and use their soft bodies to fit their wounds, then activate the palm cactus with Rin's chakra, sending them life force and healing power. Asuma and the others felt a burst of warmth and comfort, their wounds began to heal slowly, and the pain began to lessen. Obito breathed a sigh of relief, and only then did he have the leisure to take a good look at his sweetheart. Lin is no longer the childish girl, her body is curvy, her skin is fair and delicate, although her beautiful eyes are closed, her eyelashes tremble slightly, adding a bit of delicacy to her small face. Her hair is silky like satin, exuding a faint fragrance, Chong's pen is delicate, and her lips are delicate, evoking people's infinite reverie. The original purple ribbon on her cheeks has disappeared, replaced by a diamond-shaped mark between her eyebrows, which is a symbol of the fruits of her practice, and has also transformed her temperament from playful to gentle. Rin, Obito called softly, a complex emotion welling up in his heart. He really wanted to talk to Rin, to talk about the pressure in his heart, but compared to the wounded people all over the ground, his little child love could only be put aside for the time being. The slugs on Nohara Rin's shoulder climbed onto Obito's body, and the palm cactus technique lifted Obito's spirit and swept away the fatigue of rushing for days. Obito took one last look at Rin, and resolutely turned away. He wanted to hurry back to the village and tell the high-ranking Shuhei that he had been arrested. Turning around, he secretly decided, "Lin, I want to create a peaceful and stable world for you." What he didn't know was that slugs had the ability to share vision, and through the shared vision of slugs lying on their shoulders, Rin Nohara also clearly watched Obito's every move. She looked at Obito's fading back, knowing that he was here to protect Konoha and face those powerful enemies again. She wants to follow him, wants to be by Obito's side, to give him strength and courage. But Lin also realized that under the disparity in strength, she would only become a burden to Obito. She could only look through the slug's line of sight, watching Obito's back, getting smaller and smaller, more and more blurry, and an indescribable emotion surged in her heart. She felt the coldness and loneliness emanating from Obito's back, and secretly swore in her heart. Obito, I must let the world dispel misunderstandings of you and stop being enemies of you. Quote. Temple of Fire, Wilderness. Matkey huddled behind a stone in the wilderness, facing the encirclement of dozens of enemies. Their squad was ordered to come to support the Fire Temple, but they were ambushed there, and their companions, including Ebisu and Fuchi Fire String, were killed. There were only a few people left in the entire surprise attack team, including him. And the enemy was watching the tiger, only waiting for the Captain Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost to give an order, and he was about to attack. Stinky little ghost, I'll send you to meet your dead ghost daddy today. The Foggy and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost carried a large knife with a muzzle, and his eyes stared dead at the big stone where the Konoha people were hiding in front of him. As soon as he thought of Mater Dai, he only gritted his teeth with hatred, because this Konoha shinobi, the famous Mist Yin Ninja Knife 7 became a laughing stock. Sir, we can't delay any longer, Lord Yakura ordered us to go back and assemble. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel bowed. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost glanced at the recently famous dried persimmon ghost mackerel, his eyes flickered, and he said that if he let this kid develop again, he was afraid that he would take his place. In the Wuyin village, this breeding farm, it is not uncommon to go down, and the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost patted the shoulder of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel, and said, Ghost mackerel, my mackerel muscle big knife needs a qualified heir, are you willing to accept the test? What do you mean? The ghost mackerel looked at the big knife mackerel, his eyes lit up, and his expression was excited. Wuyin does not have a single uncoveted sword muscles with a knife, including himself. The words of the boss are clearly to make themselves the 7 people of the ninja sword. Just what you think. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost smiled, pulled the big knife of the mackerel behind his back to him, and let the dried persimmon ghost fish touch it. Unexpectedly, the mackerel took the initiative to extend the handle of the knife and rubbed it affectionately in the palm of the ghost mackerel's hand. This scene made the eyes of the watermelon mountain puffer fish ghost squint slightly, and jealousy arose, and the killing intent in his heart was even worse. This is the first time he has seen Chakra who takes the initiative to kiss a person. Please order, my lord, I will definitely go to the soup and complete the task. The ghost mackerel leaned over and knelt on the ground excitedly, and said tremblingly. Time is limited, I will lead people to the Temple of Fire to seize the legendary immortal inheritance, and these few Konoha people will be handed over to you. Watermelon mountain puffer ghost said lightly. No problem. The ghost mackerel cut the railway. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost nodded in satisfaction, left 10 hands for the ghost mackerel, and then led the misty people to the Temple of Fire. Don't be sold, and help people get paid. At this time, the brown-haired and blue-clothed girl who had been shrinking at the back of the team said to the ghost mackerel. What do you mean? The ghost mackerel looked at the delicate peer in puzzlement, Zhao Mei. Among the peers, there are not many people who can make the ghost mackerel look at each other squarely, and the genius girl Terame who has the 2 blood succession limits of dissolution and boiling is definitely one. It's not interesting. I just don't want to work with guys like Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost in the future. Terumi shook her head, put on a long expression that she didn't want to argue with the fool, and left straight behind the team of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost. Is it a warning? It seems that the enemy on the opposite side is a little scary, you have to be careful. The ghost mackerel's eyes flashed and fell into a deep groan. No matter how good the muscles are, you must have a life to take it. How could Zhao Mei, who could survive in the blood-stained limit family of Mist Yin, be a simple-minded person? This was learned by the ghost mackerel in the village. For Terumi's reminder, he paid full attention to it. After a long while, the Mist Yin crowd attacked. There are only so many people, it's really a small look. Matkai combed his watermelon head, his green tights were covered with a green vest of Konoha, and his forehead was worn around his waist, his face was resolute, his eyes were firm, and he did not have the slightest fear. The Mist Yin divided 8 to deal with Matkai, while the Oni dragon led 2 to attack the rest of the Konoha. Persimmons should be pinched softly, this is the iron rule of battle. Among the 8 people in the Mist Hidden People, there are 3 upper ninja and 5 middle ninja. They have already learned the physical skill of this thick eyebrow, and they are not underestimated at the moment. Suddenly, one of the Nakai attacks, holding a short knife, and pounces on Matkai's back, trying to stab him in the heart. Konoha whirlwind. Metkei sensed the danger, he quickly turned around, the lower kick followed the upper kick, continuously kicked the enemy's chest, kicked the enemy 10 meters away, the chest collapsed, I don't know whether I am alive or dead. This. So strong. Don't compete with him in physical arts, consume him with ninjutsu. One of the upper shinobi of the Mist Yin commanded. Shui Duan. The art of mist concealment. Several Naka shinobi sealed at the same time, spitting out thick fog, blurring the environment and obstructing Kai's vision, while the mist-hidden people judged Metkai's location through the chakra flow in the dense fog. Mist hide. Silent killing. The 3 kami shinobi moved at high speed in the thick fog and ran around Kai. The rest of the shinobu kept throwing darkeners to distract Kai. Ding ding ding. In the thick fog, Matkai closed his eyes, holding a nunchuck ninja made of special superalloy steel in both hands, and with only a slight sound, he knocked the incoming dark weapons one by one. Konoha rigid whirlwind. With incredible speed and power, he unleashed a roundhouse kick to knock off a sneak attacking Mist Shinobu. What's going on? Did the thick fog have no effect on him at all? This. Mist Yin Shinobu flicked his numb arm, and his eyes were full of shock. You have to restrain his actions first. Shui Duan. The art of the water prison. Quote. An upper ninja summons a water ball to trap Matkai. Kai listened to the sound and directly retreated 3 meters, dodging the water ball that rose in place. You guys, don't be stunned. Mist Shinobu saw that the blow was missed, and he was so anxious that he shouted at the few middle shinobi. Be careful. Only hearing an exclamation, this Shangnan felt that he was being hugged, and a strong sense of crisis enveloped his heart, because his hands were firmly held, he was helpless for a while, and hurriedly said, "Save me." The next moment, Kai jumped up with him in his arms, and then fell headfirst and hit the ground hard. Only a crisp sound was heard, and a deep pit was smashed out of the ground, and the head of the shinobi was pulled back on his back at a strange angle, breaking his neck and dying on the spot. Feeling his miserable situation, several besieging Zongnan took a few steps back in fear. They didn't understand how the strength of this thick eyebrow was so terrifying, like a beast. Metkei's attack does not have bells and whistles, it is the simplest physical technique, but every blow is a fatal blow, and every dodge is a precise judgment. Such enemies are the most terrifying. Come again. Matkei wiped the sweat and blood from his forehead, clamped the nunchucks under his armpits, sank his body, and looked around at the misty people around him, and the trembling intent in his eyes was even worse. Useless stuff. He is alone, and he can still turn the sky over. The remaining two mist shinobi shouted at the frightened Naka shinobu. Konoha Vajra Force Whirlwind. As soon as the words fell, Kai's attack arrived in front of him. Shui Duan. Instantaneous. The superior shinobu flashed to the side in a thrilling manner, his back was soaked with cold sweat, his face was full of fear, and he secretly cursed in his heart. Gone, forgot that you can't speak. This thick eyebrow pervert. Quote. What's going on? Can't you get one of 8 fights? Quote. The Oni came alone, with blood on his hands, which belonged to the Konoha people. Metkei looked grim and had a sense of foreboding. This shark-like weirdo was super powerful, and he was deeply impressed in the initial battle. His figure flashed, chakra condensed his right leg, and kicked towards the dried persimmon ghost mackerel, which was an enhanced version of his Vajra Force Whirlwind. Shui Duan. The art of the water prison. The ghost mackerel seemed to be talking to the mist-hidden people, but his attention had been focused on Kai's body, and when he saw Kai's imposing attack, he spit out a raging stream of water in his mouth to wrap himself and the mist-hidden ninja beside him, forming a water ball. Kai kicked into the water balloon, and before he touched the body of the ghost mackerel, the other party instantly left the place, but the mist shinobu was not so lucky. The ghost mackerel's water prison wrapped him in it, caught off guard, choked on a mouthful of water, and before he could slow down, he was kicked by Kai. He immediately spat out blood, stained the surrounding water balls, and his body was stunned, floating in the water prison. Thick eyebrows, don't sneak attack. The ghost mackerel said with a relaxed expression. He was extremely experienced in combat, and when he saw Metkei kick half into the water prison, he jumped up directly. Shui Duan. Big burst of water. Quote. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel's mouth violently spewed out a wave-like current, forming a huge ellipsoidal shape of water, and imprisoned everyone below. Ghost. The rest of the mist retreated, but they were still shrouded in a huge water prison. Fortunately, they were all proficient in water and swam in the water without any influence. A dry fog surrounded Metkei. Looking at Metkei who was holding his breath, his eyes were full of teasing. In the water, it is their home of mist hide, how can the dry ducks of Konoha understand? Only the ghost mackerel looked calm, did not dare to take it lightly, and sealed with one hand, Shui Dun. The art of water body. The 3 water bodies appeared in front of everyone, and the body quietly retreated behind the mist-hidden people. He didn't think that it was superfluous to remind Mayu, and now all the Konoha present were dead and wounded, and only this thick eyebrow remained, which showed that he must have something extraordinary. The body of the ghost mackerel looked at Metkei, who was surrounded by a group, and muttered, the more you reach the point of victory, the more you can't take it lightly. Quote. The next moment, sure enough, something changed suddenly. I saw that Metkei's skin color turned red, the pupils in his eyes had disappeared, and the blue chakra around his body was visible to the naked eye. Stop him. The ghost mackerel avatar greeted the misty people. Shui Duan. The art of water dragon bullets. With the help of the surrounding water, his hands quickly froze, and a huge water dragon slammed into Metkei. Shui Duan. Water tooth blade. The rest of the Naka shinobu condensed the water flow in their hands to form a rotating water knife and rushed towards Metkei. Raw door. Open. Metkei shouted in his heart, his body squatting slightly, like an off-string arrow, bursting out. The 8 doors of Dunja are divided into open door, Rest Door, Birth Gate, Wound Door, Du Door, Jing Gate, Shock Door, and Death Door. When Fang Kai hugged the mist and forbear Ed, he had already made the watch Lianhua who opened the door, and now he is in danger, and if he delays any longer, he will only be dragged to death by the other party. The mist-hidden people only felt that their eyes flashed continuously, and Matkai was like a ghost, and every time he appeared, he would knock a misty-hidden ninja. However, in a few breaths, there were only 2 people left in the middle of the field. The 2 of them dared to rush forward again, and swam backwards with terrified faces. Matkai still wanted to pursue, but saw a water dragon shrouding him head-on, and it turned out that it was Mist Yin Shangshan who manipulated the water dragon to attack. Wounded Door. Open. In the face of such a powerful water dun, Matkai did not dare to raise it, and once again urged the 8-door Dunjia, and the speed increased again, avoiding the water dragon. Obviously a dry duck, but with such speed in the water, it is really a powerful physical skill. It seems that where have I heard it? The Oni watched Metkei attack the 2 Naka shinobi, but did not come to the rescue. Instead of saving these 2 burdens, it was better to let them bear the damage, so that he could analyze more information. With the blessing of the injured door, Matkai easily caught up with the 2 Naka shinobi, and before the 2 could react, they died under Kai's physical blow. Suddenly there was only one doppelganger of Mist Yin Shinobu and Oni Mackerel left on the field. Mist Yinshang couldn't help but stare at the ghost mackerel fiercely, as if questioning why he was watching from the sidelines. The ghost mackerel doppelganger spread out his hand, indicating that it was not yet time. Duman. Open. Quote. Metkai's whole body chakra surged wildly, stirring the surrounding water, and his strength and speed increased again. He wants to kill the remaining enemies in one fell swoop. Wow. Mist Yin Shang Shinobu couldn't see the ghost mackerel's plan. He clearly wanted to consume his own physical strength with thick eyebrows, and he didn't want to make a wedding dress for others. He manipulated the water dragon with all his strength, slammed it at Matkei, and then, whether it hit it or not, withdrew and swam towards the outside of the water prison. Boom. As soon as he turned around, he saw that Matkei had appeared in front of him, and suddenly his soul appeared, and his pupils shrank suddenly. Metkai's waist condensed, and a punch slammed into his lower abdomen, and the huge impact directly broke the lumbar vertebrae of Mist Yin Shangnan, and his figure flew towards the ground. Before he completely lost consciousness, he felt a sharp pain in his chest and flew back upside down. Li Lianhua. Matkai's figure flashed continuously, punching and kicking the bones of the fog-hidden shinobu by inch, and the dead could not die again, and finally with the reaction force of the corpse, he wanted to jump out of the water prison. Shui Duan. The art of the great dragon bullet. A super large shark-type water bomb condensed by chakra came head-on, catching him off guard. In a hurry, Matkai kicked the small shark, but as soon as Fang made contact, the chakra in his body quickly drained. The baby shark sucked the chakra from Matkai's body, and its size suddenly became larger, and it opened its fangs and mouth, and was about to devour Kai. Jing Mun. Open. Kai opened the 8 doors and the next door, and the muscles of his body were instantly torn, and the blood mixed with tissue fluid could not stop seeping out, and merged into the water prison around his body. Along with this, there was a powerful momentum that made the ghost mackerel tremble. Matkai punched out, and the shark formed by the big mackerel bullet was blasted into a water mist by the punch. Matkei jumped out of the water on tiptoe, and the water seemed to move closely with his body, but it could not keep up with the speed of his explosion. Towards the peacock. After Metkai jumped out of the water, he struck out a high-speed front fist and the air friction generated flames, and the flames in the sky fell into the water prison, as spectacular as a peacock opening the screen, and instantly evaporated the lake-like water prison below. Gee, you are really outrageously strong. Among the peers I know, your physical skills are invincible. I remember you. What is your relationship with that Metday? No wonder Terumi told me to be careful. It turns out that she has long recognized your identity. It's just, how long can you support this state with such a large consumption? The 3 ghost mackerel doppelgangers said in their own words. Kill you, that's enough. As soon as Matkai's words fell, he appeared in front of the ghost mackerel doppelganger, and with the blessing of Jingmun, he blasted the ghost mackerel doppelganger into a water mist with 3 strokes and 5 divisions. Then he knelt on the ground weakly and gasped, His skin was cracked inch by inch, and the bones in his body were also greatly compressed, and he had no combat power in a short time. I only opened the gate and was so painful, and I don't know how much my father has suffered. At this moment, Mat Kai deeply realized how great that individual let the 10,000 years of patience in his mouth was. The ghost mackerel true body, who was hundreds of meters away, felt the memories brought back by the disappearance of the doppelganger, and said with a smile, "The real hunt has begun. The other party consumes so much, as long as he follows behind his back, he can sit and enjoy the benefits of the fisherman, and the battle of ninjas has never relied on brute force to win. So who is the prey?" Suddenly, a voice that made the ghost mackerel unforgettable for a lifetime appeared in his ears, and at that moment, he felt that he was only one step away from death. Nani? The dried persimmon ghost mackerel felt a chill spread from his spine to his whole body, his sweat hair stood up like needles, his pupils shrank suddenly, and his body stiffened. The shark's sensitivity to blood is different from ordinary people, and he can smell the blood on the other party. At that moment, the dry persimmon ghost mackerel felt that he was dead, but the imaginary scene of the blade penetrating his body did not happen, and he was surprised to find that the other party did not seem to intend to make a move. He hurriedly leapt to the side and turned his head to look at the man. "Uchiha Obito." The ghost mackerel blurted out. The psychological shadow caused by Obito on the Wuin village was so great that there was no one in the village who did not know him. Huh. No, just a shadow doppelganger. The ghost mackerel's eyes widened and he wondered. "Ghost mackerel, you go, I don't want to kill you." The shadow avatar with soil has an indifferent face, his aura is strong and stable, and his eyes are full of confidence. "Your Excellency wants to scare me off with a shadow avatar." The ghost mackerel's face turned livid, and he felt the contempt of the Earth's shadow doppelganger. His eyes flashed with angry sparks, his snort intensified, and his teeth rattled. "Even if you are strong, a shadow avatar wants to seconds me." But Obito's next words calmed his anger and turned into a look of horror. The shadow doppelganger with soil looked at the ghost mackerel calmly, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a calm smile, and said, "Not long ago, your captain, Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, said the same thing to you." Quote. In the previous life, the members of the Xiao organization all had ghosts, and only the ghost mackerel really wanted a real and peaceful world. Therefore, Obito admires him the most, which is part of the reason why he is willing to let him go. "Have you already met Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost Lord?" The ghost mackerel looked at Obito suspiciously. If the two sides encountered, there would inevitably be a battle. If Uchiha Obito was here, then what about the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost? "Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost is jealous. I can't tolerate you, I've already slaughtered him." The ghost mackerel doubted the authenticity of Obito's words, and with just a shadow doppelganger, he slaughtered the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, one of the 7 people of the ninja knife that had been famous for a long time. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost is with dozens of people, many of whom are masters like Zhao Meiyu. Your companions are fighting for that mackerel knife. If you go now, there should be still time. As if in order to convince the ghost mackerel, Obito's shadow doppelganger said a few more words. "Oni mackerel, you are an excellent ninja. Don't doubt yourself because of the deception of the ninja world. Live, sooner or later, I will let you see a real and stable world." The ghost mackerel was shocked, feeling that he had been seen through. He is in the dark part of the fog, often performing some unsightly tasks. Coupled with the oppressive atmosphere of the fog-hidden village, he has accumulated the blood of countless opponents and companions on his hands. He also hated this false world, which has always been his deepest secret. "So, you're not going to do something to me." At this moment, the ghost mackerel has already developed a retreat. The mysterious enemy is the most terrifying, although in front of him is only a shadow doppelganger, but can kill the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, and quietly appear behind him. It is enough to prove the strength of the other party. "You can also fight with my shadow avatar, and then wait for my body to arrive here." Obito still looks like a light cloud and a breeze. Hearing this, the dried persimmon ghost mackerel hesitated, thought for a while, and finally made up his mind. "Remove. Risking your life to fight a shadow doppelganger. Even if the gambler comes, shake his head and walk away. Huge risks cannot be exchanged for benefits, and no one wants to fight this war." Remember what you said, I'm waiting for that day. After the dried persimmon ghost mackerel finished speaking, he left in an instant. Looking at his departing back from afar, the shadow doppelganger with soil also breathed a sigh of relief. After leaving the field hospital, he used the shadow doppelganger technique, summoning several doppelgangers to support several large strongholds in Konoha. If the ghost mackerel insists on fighting, although I am sure that he will lose his combat power, but the other experts of the mist hidden people in the Temple of Fire will rush over, and Metke will definitely not be able to support the time when my body rushes over. Obito muttered. Temple of Fire. The members of the Mist Shadow Division competed around the Great Sword, each casting his own ninjutsu in an attempt to seize the artifact at the top of the 7 ninja blades. The scene is very chaotic. Fire, splashes, smoke, and wind blades are intertwined to form a picture of disaster, and they attack each other just to gain the sovereignty of the mackerel blade. At this moment, the identity of the companion has become a joke, and in front of the ninjas cultivated in the land of blood mist, fighting and killing is their habitual thinking. No one noticed that on the roof of the Temple of Fire stood an elegant blue-clothed girl with a bumpy figure. It was the misty rookie Terame. Terumi looked disdainful. A group of fools, not recognized by the muscles, even if they grab it, what if they grab it? Quote. The great knife is still in the hands of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, and whoever can control it will be able to become one of the 7 people of the new ninja Dao of Mist Yin. A misty shinobi came to the corpse of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, and looked feverishly at the big knife he was holding in his hand. He eagerly reached out to grasp the hilt of the sword, which would mean becoming one of the 7 people of the ninja sword. But the moment he touched the mackerel blade, the mackerel suddenly let out a strange chirp, like a startled beast. The sharp blade like the fangs of a beast instantly protruded from the hilt, piercing the hand of the shinobi and absorbing the chakra inside him. The Shangshan screamed and took off his muscles, holding his palms that had been pierced with several bloody holes and wailing. This scene made the rest of the people present dare not act rashly. Just as everyone was looking at each other, the dried persimmon ghost mackerel descended from the sky, held the mackerel muscle, carried it on its shoulder, and stared at the mist below. The misty people looked at the mackerel muscles and did not reject the ghost mackerel, and they all showed a look of envy and jealousy. Terumi jumped down and stood side by side with the dried persimmon ghost mackerel, which immediately completely shocked everyone. If you talk about a ghost mackerel, they still have the confidence to fight, and add another Jiaomei, then there is no chance of victory at all. These fools, when facing Uchiha with soil, they will strike hard. Terumi skimmed her mouth, her tone full of disdain. Is Uchiha Obito really that strong? The ghost mackerel asked curiously. Extremely strong. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost did not block his shadow doppelganger's sword. Terumi meditated on the terrifying knife, and her delicate body suddenly shuddered. Looking at her expression, Ghostfish was immediately glad that she didn't have a momentary brain fever. Look! At this time, a misty hidden member exclaimed. Everyone followed the sound and looked up at the sky. The mysterious screen reappeared in the sky, only to see it shining crystal clear under the reflection of the moonlight. The familiar sound of broadcasting is once again in your ears. Act 8 is about to play. Faith. Wavering, shattered Tenuma spear. Discussion group open. The discussion group, which had been silent for a long time, became lively again. Finally appeared, relying only on strength. Can the coalition really defeat that 6 Dao belt soil? Faith wavering. Coalition faith wavered. What is the Tenuma spear and why is it broken? Everyone expressed great curiosity about this decisive battle, and the coalition also hoped to collect more information about Uchiha Obito through the images exposed this time. Start playing. Now in the video. It won't help to do anything until now. Look at the blood moon in the sky, what can you think of? That's right, the time to travel to the dream world of moonlit nights is getting closer and closer. 6 Dao Obito stepped on the void and said highly, the dream of the moon can fill the huge hellish void for me, and this moment has finally come. Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha each use their strongest state, the 9 tails of the complete tailed beast and the complete body Susa. Complete body Susano fully armed the 9 tails, the powerful momentum is far away from the 6 strips, but it still looks weaker. Ludao Obito held the Tianuma spear, did not put the combination of the 2 reincarnated children in his eyes, and said confidently, This sword is the divine sword of the six immortals, a sword of heart that hosts the strong will of the immortals, and the immortals created the world with this sword, and you have no chance of victory. After listening to the introduction of the six paths of soil, Mingzuo's expressions became more solemn. As a creation sword, the Tianuma spear has no fixed form. Born from the heart, the appearance of the Tenuma spear completely depends on the user's heart. Facing this spiral-like black lacquer divine sword, Mingzuo and the two dare not be careless. Lu Dao Obito was very satisfied with Naruto's reaction, and said awe-inspiringly, "My will is above you. No matter how much you struggle, there is no point, the power of the immortals will stop you. Sasuke, we concentrate all our strength on one blow, maybe we can create a small opportunity, don't miss it." The Nine Tails, armed by purple Susanoo, wielded 9 tails, and 9 huge spiral pills condensed in it. Lu Dao Obito shouted, "I will use this sword to erase this world. Spiral pill please, you must break his shield. Can we do it?" Xiao Li and the others in Konoha's 12 small powerhouses jumped into the tail of the 9 tails, each controlling a spiral pill of equal size and couldn't help but doubt themselves. No problem, Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha jointly manipulated a Kusanagi sword that condensed the power of the complete body Susa and the full body of the 9 tails, towards the Rokudo Obito thorn. Rokudo Obito resisted with the Tenuma spear, but when he met Naruto Uzumaki's eyes, he fell into fantasy. In the fantasy, after Obito came out of the mountain cemetery, he did not follow Uchiha's instructions, but returned to Konoha and paid homage to Rin Nohara with his best friend Kakashi. Obito stood in front of Nohara Rin's grave. Tears couldn't help but remain. He wiped away his tears, and made up his mind to fulfill the promise made by Nohara Rin, to become Hokage. Behind him, stood his fellow students. They all trusted him, regarded him as a brother in Rose, and fought alongside him. These were the source of his strength. Over time, Obito's efforts were recognized by everyone, and he protected Konoha with his life again and again. Finally, Obito was recognized by everyone, and his head was engraved on the Hokage rock. At the end of the fantasy, Obito stood in front of Nohara Rin's tomb wearing a Hokage hat and a royal god robe, and fulfilled his promise. Seeing this scene, the ninja world was in an uproar. Who would have thought that at the moment of Armageddon, the enemy's heart would become the shadow of a village? The discussion group was immediately filled with mocking and questioning voices. Isn't it? Am I mistaken? This Uchiha Obito actually wants to be a Hokage. The Great Speechless Incident, a person who wants to declare war on the entire ninja world, actually wants to become Hokage in his heart. Or how can you say it's a fool's dream? Some dreams can only be done at noon, because they will wake up sooner or later. Quote. In the image. Oh. The Kusanagi sword and the Tenuma spear collided suddenly, and the Tenuma spear actually broke slightly. In my head. How could such a picture appear? Rokudo Obito was amazed at his fantasies and couldn't help but mumble. Stunned, the Tianuma spear shattered inch by inch, and none of the 6 strips of soil actually held steadily, so that the Tianuma spear broke away from the palm, and the Kusanagi sword cut through its abdomen, cutting a deep wound, but no blood flowed out. Hailiong's tailed beast chakra flew out from the wound in the belly of the 6 strips with soil. In Naruto Uzumaki's consciousness space, the 9 lamas looked at the tailed beast chakra, who had gained partial freedom, and said excitedly. As I thought, the chuk you got from the tailed beasts resonated, and pulled the tailed beast chakra out of his body with one blow. Keep pulling, and pull out all the chakras of the tailed beasts in one go. Yo West. Naruto Uzumaki clasped his fist with one hand. The 9 lamas bowed his head and said, drag hard, so that guy will have no tailed beast chakra, and the 10 tails will only have an empty shell, and the big tree will not be able to bloom. 6 paths with earth desperately dragged the tailed beast chakra to prevent it from being dragged away. In the process of pulling, due to the connection of the tailed beast chakra on both sides, Naruto Uzumaki and Rokudo Obito each saw each other's lives. Naruto Uzumaki saw Nohara Rin's entity lying on Obito's chest, and 2 tears also flowed. The 9 lamas reminded, now that you are connected to chakra with him, his heart will enter your mind, but don't be fooled. Don't underestimate the power of the 10-tailed human pillar force that is equal to the 6 Dao immortals. 6 Dao Obito drink, and slowly drag the tailed beast chakra back in his direction with his own strength. Uchiha Sasuke separated one of Susanoo's arms, and 9 of Konoha's 12 small powerhouses jumped into it and also contributed their own strength. Naruto, let's fight side by side until the end. Although the coalition forces suffered heavy casualties, the rest were the elite of the elite, and I saw that tens of thousands of survivors all joined them. A shocking scene happened. I saw tens of thousands of village ninjas wrapped in the coat of tailed beasts standing behind the 9 tails, and they worked together to inject all their chakra and power into the tail, giving Naruto Uzumaki power. This scene of the unity of the people immediately made the blood of the discussion group boil. Yes, that's it, tens of thousands of us can't pull him alone. Pull hard, pull out all the tailed beasts, Uchiha with soil, this human pillar force is dead. When I got up, I also want to go in and tug of war. Quote. In the image, Rokudo Obito saw the entire ninja world standing behind Naruto Uzumaki in the consciousness space, and couldn't help but turn his head to look behind him, empty. At this moment, Obito wished that it was himself who was surrounded by everyone, and Naruto Uzumaki's face on the opposite side became his own. Maybe feeling lonely, or maybe jealous that Naruto Uzumaki lived the way he wanted, Rokudo Obito gritted his teeth and said, do I regret it? Naruto Uzumaki suddenly broke into the spiritual world of the 6 paths of Obito and exhorted, you said you didn't want to be anyone, right? Ludao Obito frowned, extremely dissatisfied with this uninvited guest, said, stop, don't enter my heart. Naruto Uzumaki seduced, but actually, like me, you want to become Hokage, right? If I had changed the situation, maybe I might have chased your back. Because I also yearn for Hokage. Ludao Obito said coldly, that's just the past and naive self that I have completely abandoned long ago. Naruto Uzumaki was not used to Rokudo Obito's duplicitous appearance, and asked, then why did I see those pictures? What's the use of you covering up? After all, you are Kakashi-sensei's companion, a disciple of the 4th generation of Hokage, and a member of Uchiha's clan. Rokudo Obito's heart was deeply touched. He has always been Uchiha's substitute messenger, planning for the Eye of the Moon for the rest of his life, and at this moment Naruto Uzumaki's words pointed to his heart. Rokudo Obito couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, so what? How do you want to treat me? Naruto Uzumaki said word by word, I mean, you are Uchiha Obito. Quote. Everyone in the discussion group was confused by Naruto Uzumaki. In their impression, Armageddon should be a duel of strengths, and it has always been only your death and my death, why are they still preaching? Why is this Uzumaki Naruto still preaching to Uchiha Obito at this time? What do you understand? This must be his unique technique, relying on the power of language to break through Uchiha Obito's heart. This is the legendary open mouth. In the image. Uchiha Obito. Now, the name. What else is the meaning of this identity? Rokudo's tone was full of sarcasm. I have become one with the 10 tails, I am no longer a person, but a leader who guides the people to the next stage. Naruto Uzumaki frowned. His tone was full of disappointment. You who once had a dream that shared with me have completely gone against your dream. The 6 paths with soil asked, if there is a short path with a bright future, who does not know how to choose it? Who wants to deliberately embark on a bumpy and difficult path? But the world is never fair. But I will never allow you to pull everyone into your path. You should come to our side and repay your sins as Uchiha Obito, as a Konoha ninja. Naruto Uzumaki said, extending his right hand. It seems that he was moved by his words, or maybe he really wanted to be a Hokage. Rokudo Obito's eyes showed hesitation, and slowly squeezed the hand extended to Naruto Uzumaki. The world seems to be frozen. Seeing this scene, the discussion group was shocked and puzzled. This guy, was he moved? So simple to be reformed. I already knew that it was so simple. Let this Uzumaki Naruto come and teach him, and there was no need to die so many people. Everyone expressed doubts about the reaction of the 6 Obito, and asked themselves, if they were in a different place, they would all stab Naruto Uzumaki to death. That is a deep hatred of the sea of blood and a half-life of calculation. How can it be given up because of a few high-sounding big principles? The image continues. The next moment, the harmonious scene that should have shaken hands and made peace did not happen. Rokudo Obito suddenly pinched Naruto Uzumaki's neck, raised it high, and said disdainfully, "The reason why you can stand here and preach to me is because of your strength, not because of how correct your bright and mighty beliefs are." He looked at Naruto Uzumaki's flushed and purple face and said firmly, "The weak who once held the same belief as you have long died. In the end, this hellish world still needs change, and the path I took is not wrong." The picture stopped abruptly. Too insidious, too despicable. This Uchiha belt soil is Sun, and he is engaged in sneak attacks. But this is the normal reaction of a villain. How could it be possible to abandon the Moon Eye project just like that? Also, this Uzumaki Naruto is too naive. People have walked more bridges than he has walked, and teenage little furry children dare to preach to others. Is anyone really going to let go of hatred because of other people's words? So how can you be worthy of the pain of losing a loved one? Indeed, even if Uchiha Obito's approach is too extreme, I'm fed up with the war and killing in the ninja world. The discussion group is no longer a one-sided criticism of the 6 strips, there are more different views. At this time, the radio sounded. Now enter the prize quiz session. The answer will be announced in 5 minutes, please make your choice as soon as possible, and the winner of the guess will be rewarded. Question. The main reason why the 6th Dao Obito can control the Tianuma spear. Will he finally come to his senses? A. Powerful power, obsession. B. Powerful power, wake up. C. Firm will, obsession. D. Firm will, wake up. Quote. It must be a powerful force. If it is a will, why didn't he use the Tenuma spear before becoming a 10-tailed human pillar force? Pick A. But his belief must be shaken, and the Tianuma spear will be shattered inch by inch, which shows that if you want to control the Tianuma spear, you still have to rely on firm will. It has to be C. Don't think too much, the answer must be in the title. Faith wavering, the heavenly marsh spear is shattered, it must be C. That. Am I alone struggling with B and D? Nani? Uchiha Obito has been planning the Eye of the Moon plan since Naruto Uzumaki was born, more than 10 years of preparation. How is it possible to change your mind just because of a few words? That is, you think he's a 3-year-old. So easy to accept other people's preaching. If I were to say, although Uchiha Obito's approach is extreme, it is not unreasonable, but it is the path of Naruto Uzumaki, isn't it the path we are taking now? It still can't fundamentally solve the disputes in the ninja world. How can you empathize with Uchiha Obito? He wanted to draw the entire ninja world into illusion. I don't agree with Uchiha Obito's approach, but after the Shinobi War, can we still maintain the alliance? Not yet to continue fighting each other. Keep fighting, this is the fate of ninjas. Indeed, as long as there is strife between countries, the vendetta between us ninjas will not stop. Widow and lonely. Actually, I really want to enter that illusion world. My son, daughter-in-law, and grandson have all died in the 3 wars, and I don't want to wake up when I dream back at midnight. Quote. It's tasteless to live. I also want to enter the world of illusion. I have low talent. I am still only a middle ninja at the age of 30. The mission bounty I earn is only enough for my own expenses, and I haven't started a family until now. Quote. Hey, you want to die yourself. I'm the nephew of the daimyo. I still have endless glory and wealth in the rest of my life, but I don't want to fall into illusion. Quote. Life is better than death. So, what is the meaning of our ninja existence? Instead of using your humble insignificance to set off others, why not go to the world of illusion to enjoy a while? Gravekeeper. Indeed, anyway, my family and lover have died in battle, and instead of living in pain for the rest of my life, why not go to the world of illusion to reunite with them? No one paid attention to the quiz answer anymore, and the wind of public opinion began to focus on which of the illusion world and the real world could bring real happiness. The discussion group was divided into 2 factions, peaceful and changeable. Most of those who still have hope for the future, or live a satisfying life in real life, are on Naruto Uzumaki's side. Because the war has been traumatized and still living in misery, those who see no hope stand on the Ludao Obito faction, hoping to escape reality through the world of illusion, so that desperate hearts can temporarily find a stable home. For the latter, the village leaders began to crack down harshly in the discussion groups, but because the discussion groups did not adopt the real name system, the suppression by the top officials made the fire more and more intense. In the end, the entire ninja world was shocked to find that the number of reformers was overwhelmingly greater than that of peaceful factions. Because the three wars had just ended, the entire ninja world was full of displaced and hungry people. The entire discussion group was filled with grumbling voices. Chanel Uzumaki. I am an orphan of the Uzumaki clan. I wake up every morning to be pulled to be used as a medical kit. The people of the village gnaw my flesh and absorb chakra. I have bite marks all over my body. If it weren't for my daughter, I would have died a long time ago. Quote. The country of grass will definitely be strong. You five great powers are fighting, but the battlefield is chosen in our small country. You are really noble. What peace is precious with me now? Why did you not take into account the dignity of our small country when we first went to war? Talent is greater than effort. That Uzumaki Naruto has the strength he had since he was a teenager. I have worked hard to cultivate for 20 years and have not reached his 10th level. What is the point of the existence of this unfair world? If I were a daimyo, I wouldn't want the world to be destroyed, but unfortunately I'm not. I can only do tasks every day, but I still have a hard time, and the war has burned down the house I bought after years of hard work. There were countless such words, most of them complaints from the bottom of the ninja world. They are like gutter rats in real life, and at this moment they only hope that the Moon Eye plan can succeed, so that they can experience the brilliance of neon lights. Even if you can only live for one day, it is better than living a lifetime in a dark world. The direction of the discussion group surprised everyone. On the wilderness near the Temple of Fire, Matkai fell to the ground, red in blood, his skin cracked and oozing blood. His breathing was weak, his eyes were full of extreme exhaustion, and only a trace of stubborn will was left to hold on to not let himself fall asleep. Matkai stared at the image in the air, and unlike everyone in the discussion group, he only cared about the final answer. In the past, he could still copy the answers and follow the majority of candidates, but now there was a fierce argument in the discussion group about whether the Moon Eye plan was suitable for most people. Seeing that 5 minutes were approaching, Matkai was anxious. Thick eyebrows, are you all right? At this time, the shadow doppelganger with soil obscured his vision. Matkai's eyes lit up, his body trembled constantly, and every convulsion made him feel severe pain, but the mental excitement made him forget the pain of the flesh. His voice was hoarse, but he asked quickly, quick. Tell me, what is this topic? Obito was taken aback by Matkai's reaction, and thought that he would go into shock at any time, but he didn't expect to come to ask for an answer, and replied, well. Choose D. Quote. Matkai's eyes are shining, and his heart is stable this time. In Konoha village, everyone knows that the Uchiha Madara, who gets a reward every time is Obito, because Mio Isoji and the 9 tails are in his body. Kai's hoarse voice, almost inaudible, used his last strength to shout an answer to the sky. D. Almost. Within a few breaths of his answer, the radio sounded again. It's time, now announce the correct options. D. Yo Keita. That's right. Worthy of you, stinky cheat. Quote. Matkai hugged the thigh of the soil doppelganger and rubbed it excitedly. Winners are now announcing. Congratulations to Uchiha for winning the reward. Yin-Yang escape technique. Congratulations to the Konoha Blue Beast for getting the reward. The power of the 8 doors of Dunja has been improved, and the door of shock and death is opened. Congratulations to Senjukuma for getting the reward. Resurrection. Discussion group closed. Above the wilderness, Matkai and Obito have different expressions. Obito is amazed at the resurrection between the Senju pillars. Matkai's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe that he was really on the list of winners. His mouth opened and he let out an exclamation. Obito, I'm hit. I'm finally hit. Congratulations. Obito smiled and looked at Matkai, who was shaking his body. Matkai's thick eyebrows were raised, his smile was bright, and he roared, this is the miracle of youth. His voice was hoarse but full of passion, and then he tilted his head and passed out. This unlucky child. Matkai's emotions infected Obito and washed away the worries in his heart. Obito muttered, the resurrection between the 1,000-hand pillars means that someone must have reborn him first. That person is a big snake pill. In addition to the original Hokage, who else did the big snake pill defile? Forget it, I'm just a shadow doppelganger. This is not something I should worry about. Obito's shadow doppelganger smiled, picked up the Matkai on the ground and ran in the direction of Konoha village. In a forest in the land of Earth. The world finally knows the greatness of the Moon Eye Project, and my way is not alone. Uchiha first sighed, and then frowned. This kid of the big snake pill actually claimed the filthy soil out of the pillar without authorization. Then his eyebrows stretched out again, and his eyes were full of fighting intent. Forget it, with this pair of reincarnation eyes. Zuma is not my opponent, but I want to defeat him with my own hands, and then let him watch me realize the Moon Eye plan with my own eyes. Quote. On the opposite side of Uchiha, there stands the human pillar force of the four-tailed Sun Wukong and the human pillar force of the five-tailed Mu King. Old Z was dressed in a purple ninja suit and breastplate, his hair was tied into small bunches like a ponytail, and he had a beard, looked at Uchiha with a strange face, and turned his head and said, Han, does he have a brain problem? Han was dressed in bright red armor, his eyes were full of calmness, and he stood calmly on the side and replied, it is indeed a bit crazy. Lao Zi asked, did you receive Onoki's message scroll? Han bowed, well, Tsuchikage-sama asked me to make peace with you, and be careful with Uchiha, who is said to have captured Ichigo Moritsuru. Lao Zi pouted and said, before Yenian set off, I advised us to go to the battlefield together, he had to refuse, now people take advantage of the void. Han knew that Lao Zi and Onoki had never been at odds, and defended Onoki. Lord Tsuchikage has his own concerns, he is probably afraid that something will go wrong in the battle and cause the tailed beast to flow out. What are you two muttering? Uchiha Madara stood on the tree trunk, serving the two Iwahide pillars below. Your Excellency is Uchiha, right? Lao Zi asked unceremoniously. Madara was interested, oh. You know me. When I was a child, I often heard adults tell stories about you and the ninja god Senjujuku, but I didn't expect to meet the legendary ninja here. Lao Zi said. Han Yi said, now that the thousand-hand pillar has also been resurrected, I really want to see your battle with my own eyes. I didn't expect that after so long, there would still be stories between me and Pillar in the ninja world. Uchiha looked up and laughed loudly, with a happy expression on his face. Suddenly, he flashed in an instant, easily dodging Lao Zi's sneak attack, only to see a stream of magma engulfing the position where he was standing, and the hot temperature turned the trees into char. Insect tricks. Uchiha's laughter gradually became harsh and disdainful, and his eyes were also cold and cruel, and he lowered his head, his eyes flashing with 6 hooks of jade reincarnation, as if mocking Lao Zi's innocence. Let's go together. I'll leave you a whole corpse later. Madara Ran's eyes widened, and his expression was cold and fierce. As for the battle between me and the pillar, let's go to the dirt and watch. Quote. Your Excellency is also too contemptuous of people. Lao Zi and Han Chi frowned in unison, and Uchiha's eyes made the two long-known shadow-level powerhouses feel contemptuous. Especially Lao Zi, he has repeatedly made amazing achievements in the 3 battles, even Tokage Onoki has been polite to him, how could he have been so despised? The two of them had a fire in their hearts, and they all quickened their pace and rushed towards Uchiha. Yes, that's it. The corners of Uchiha's mouth rose slightly, revealing an arrogant smile, and his eyes exuded a strong fighting intent, eager to fight. Seeing that the two had narrowed the distance, he quickly sealed his hands and shouted, Huadu. The fire is extinguished. The monstrous flame spat out of Uchiha's mouth, and with an irresistible destructive power, it galloped towards Lao Zi and Han, like a terrifying fire dragon, devouring everything that stood in its way. The fire was huge, whether it was land, trees, or rocks, it could not stop its spread, and the two people were shrouded in pillar power. Meltdown. Granite. At a critical moment, Lao Zi's hands were sealed, and he performed his stunt, which was a solid barrier made of magma to firmly protect them. The monstrous flames collided with the magma wall, emitting a deafening roar, and the scorching temperature burned everything around them into char, and the flames and magma intertwined in the air to form a magnificent picture. In the end, the huge flame was superior, and although the magma wall was hard, it was completely melted by the flames, and after everything calmed down, the place was empty. Block it with a magma wall, take the opportunity to dodge. Uchiha muttered. The next moment, he suddenly turned sideways, dodged a fist wrapped in magma, and then raised his arm to block a fist that emitted steam. The figures of the two human pillars staggered past each other and stood up straight on the ground. Uchiha looked down at the two and said, in front of my eyes, all your tricks are in vain. An ordinary fire done can use such a devastating effect, it is worthy of being a legendary ninja. Old Z's forehead was sweaty, and he couldn't help but admire. If Fang Kai hadn't dodged in time, just that fire would have burned the two to ashes. Han Yi instantly came to him and stood side by side with him, saying, "His strength is not below me, and he is even better than me. You have King Emu's blessings, can't you compare to him?" Old Z was completely shocked. Among the nine-tailed beasts, the five-tailed Mu King was famous for his strange power, and as his human pillar power, Han's strength was not comparable to ordinary shadow-level ninjas. There is no garbage ninjutsu, only ninjas who can't use it. Go ahead, let me see your true strength. Uchiha stood with his hands in his hands, urging the two to move. The 6 hooks of jade reincarnation eyes in the eyes took in the every move of the two. Han and Lao Zi looked at each other, and although Fang Kai's sneak attack was unsuccessful, it also gave them a general understanding of Uchiha's physical skills. Lao Zi turned his head to glance at Han and made a gesture, and Han bowed his head in agreement. Years of cooperation have made them develop a tacit understanding, and it only takes a simple gesture to know the tactics formulated by the other party. Meltdown. Chakra mode. Quote. Lao Zi communicated with the four-tailed Sun Wukong in his body, borrowed the tailed beast chakra, and a thick tail grew behind him, covered with red hair, exuding a burning aura. The whole body was also covered with magma, forming a thick layer of armor, and the color of the magma armor was bright, and the rock pattern was printed on it, making Old Purple look like a violent lava monster. Is it covered with magma to restrain the physical technique? Uchiha spotted Old Purple's intentions at a glance, and a layer of azure Susanoo covered his body surface with ribs. The humanoid lava monster hunched over the ground, like an off-string arrow, and blasted towards Uchiha. Boom! Susanoo collided with the lava monster, and the scorching molten water attached to Susanoo's surface, and under the steam, Susanoo melted at a speed visible to the naked eye. But then a new chakra will pour into it, mending the gaps. It's not enough to do this. Uchiha was standing with his hands in his hands all the while, and he manipulated Susanoo's right bone fist to blast Old Purple to the ground. Boiling. Unparalleled weird power. Han, who was covered in steam armor, saw the right time, raised chakra to the boiling point in one breath, concentrated his strength on his right foot, and flew forward. This kick was extremely powerful, no less than the all-out charge of the tailed beast, and he was confident enough to defeat the opponent's defense. But before Han got close to Uchiha's body, he saw him glance sideways, and the 6 hooks of jade reincarnation eyes in his eyes shone purple. The next moment, Hanru was hit hard, and his body flew out upside down, breaking more than a dozen large trees in a row before stopping his upside-down body. A mouthful of blood gushed out directly, staining the armor on his chest red. This is what power. Han's eyes were full of shock, and Fang only felt that his abdomen was subjected to an invisible huge force, and his internal organs were like being hammered, but he clearly did not see the real thing, as if he had been hammered by air. King Mu, do you know the source of this power? Han couldn't help but ask towards the tailed beast in his body. It should be the ability of the Eye of Reincarnation. The voice of the 5-tailed Mu King was neutral and soft, and it manipulated Chakra's internal organs attached to Han, temporarily stopping the injury. On the other side, the Old Purple who was hammered to the ground had entered the half-tailed beast, and the dark red-tailed beast coat flowed throughout, and its speed and strength skyrocketed. Old Z's figure turned into a blood-red match, and once again killed towards Uchiha. Boom! The sound of flesh colliding reached Lao Z's ears. Huh! Hit! Old Z looked surprised, he didn't expect to get it so easily. No, this is not Uchiha Madara. Old Z later realized that the person in front of him was wearing a red battle armor, and a stream of blood sprayed wildly on his face. He looked up and looked at each other, and both of them had a thick shock in their eyes. The person in front of you is clearly Han. Uchiha didn't know when he switched places with him, and Old Purple's burst hit Han's body firmly. Han's injuries were compounded, his liver received a violent hammer blow, and severe pain hit his mind, and if it weren't for his tenacity, he would have fainted in pain. Space-time ninjutsu, he still knows space-time ninjutsu. Is it a swap of positions? Lao Z caught the body of his teammate Tasuki, and a trace of despair had appeared in his eyes. From Fang Kai to now, they have been in the inferior position, and the means of Uchiha are endless. For his intelligence, the two know nothing, and this is the most dangerous place under the single. In the ninja world, a powerful and mysterious opponent often needs to pay the price of human life to obtain intelligence and then target confrontation. But at the moment, this approach is undoubtedly a fantasy. This is not useful. Uchiha stood where Han was standing, looking at the two desperate people with a disappointed expression. And said, "It's really a generation that is not as good as a generation, and when you put it in the warring states, you would have died a long time ago." Meltdown. Flower Fruit Mountain. Old. Z supported the ground with both hands, and the surrounding land suddenly turned into a sea of magma, and the rolling red magma flowed, and the temperature was extremely high, which could melt everything. The sea of magma was constantly bubbling, making a sizzling sound and emitting a pungent smell, and there was almost no place to stand except under the feet of old Z and Han. Lao Z said, "Han, you escape. In the lava, I can still hang out with him for a while." Han shook his head and refused. "I'm seriously injured, I can't go far." Quote. "Want to go?" Uchiha raised his eyebrows, saw the magma spread to his feet, and said, "Mu Duan. The tree realm has arrived." Quote. The thick trees that rise up from the ground destroy the surface and temporarily block the erosion of the magma sea, and the dense trees intertwine to form an emerald green forest that keeps the magma out. The roots and leaves of the trees are very thick and tough, temporarily resisting the heat and impact of magma. Do you dare to call it Wagwo Mountain? Uchiha stood in the canopy of a tree, and the forest became his home turf. Countless thick trees seemed to be given life, whipping and shaking wildly, like steel whips, accompanied by powerful forces and whistling. In the face of such a powerful wooden dun, ordinary people being drawn as the end of broken bones, even the old purple too, do not dare to raise it, because endless attacks will exhaust them. Even the legendary Mu Dun will know. Han and Lao Zi resisted the attack again and again, while secretly crying bitterly. Han reminded, "Be careful, some tree trunks that look like wooden dragons will suck chakra." Quote. Meltdown. The art of burning river rock. Lao Zi's mouth spat out multiple magma balls to repel all the incoming tree trunks, temporarily sweeping out a clearing. It's going to be dead if it drags on any longer. The old purple face was fierce, and suddenly changed from a half-tailed beast to a completely tailed beast, and a mountain giant ape with green-faced fangs and red hair appeared in place. Four tails, king of immortal ape, son. Four thick tails waved in the air, shooting away all the incoming tree trunks, and a pair of orange giant eyes looked up solemnly at Uchiha spot standing on the canopy. Meltdown. Burning River Spitfire. The four tails roared up to the sky, its hands were like iron hammers, smashing the ground out of a deep hole. The ground cracked inch by inch, countless magma gushed out from it, and the huge volcano formed by melting was lifted above its head. With the momentum of destroying everything, the four tails carried the volcano and broke through the layers of blockade of the tree trunk and crashed into Uchiha. Completely tailed beast, finally a little interesting. The Susanoo on Uchiha's body then turned into a complete body, and his body was larger than the four tails, and the aura of destruction emerged. Beast, this knife will kill you. The tailed beast that everyone fears in the ninja world is no different from a pig and sheep to be slaughtered in the eyes of Uchiha, and the Azure Susanoo draws his giant sword and slashes at the volcano that collides with it. Like a knife cutting tofu, the volcano was cut in two, and the powerful slash then slashed at the four tails. Horn fold. In the nick of time, another huge figure slammed into Susanoo's arm, deflecting the angle of his slash and saving the four tails. The huge slash cut off one corner of the four tails, grazed its cheek and slashed to the ground, and a deep ravine tens of meters long spread. The huge impact knocked Susanoo back several feet away, and traces of shattering were faintly visible on his arm. King Mu of the Five Tails. Uchiha looked at the white giant beast in front of him, with crazy fighting intent under his eyes. And said, "Interesting. I haven't enjoyed such combat power for a long time." Tailed Beast Jade. The four tails took advantage of Uchiha's attention towards King Mu, and condensed a huge purple black-tailed beast Jade in his mouth, and bombarded Uchiha. The five-tailed Mu King also followed, and the same tailed beast Jade blasted towards Susanoo. These two-tailed beast Jade, which were powerful enough to smash several mountains, flew towards Uchiha with earth-shattering power. Facing these two-tailed beast Jade, Uchiha did not choose to hard connect, but saw Susanoo's back wings spread out, turning into a flying god of war and leaping into the air, avoiding the center point of the explosion. The aftermath of the explosion was nothing to Susanoo, who swooped down, holding a light blade in each hand, and fought with two-tailed beasts. Each blow was earth-shattering, the momentum was huge, the surrounding trees and rocks were shattered, and the entire landscape of the forest was rewritten. Hurry! Uchiha suppressed the two-tailed beasts, not showing fatigue at all, but fighting more and more courageously. Just as the fierce battle was raging, a white Jedi came out of the ground and said towards Uchiha Madara, "Mata." The eight-tailed human pillar force fled Taki hidden village with the seven-tailed human pillar force. Uchiha split King Emu's two horns and frowned, "Huh. Shouldn't the eight-tailed man pillar force be on the battlefield?" Bai refused to reply. It was instigated by Uchiha with soil. "It doesn't matter, I'll look for them one by one." Uchiha quickly regained his composure and sneered, "However, there is no time to play with you two animals." Quote. Earthburst Sky Star. Uchiha clasped his hands together, a black ball of light flew into the sky, the ground shattered, and countless earth and rocks were also sucked into the sky, soon forming a huge meteorite with a diameter of hundreds of meters. The four-tailed Sun Wukong and the five-tailed Mu King appeared in the pupils of the same time as the six jade reincarnation eyes, and then the two huge bodies were also sucked into the air and sealed in the meteorite. Boom! The meteorite slowly fell from the sky, and the entire forest was completely turned into powder, forming a large deep pit on the ground. The two figures of Zhu Li were lying on the ground, life and death unknown. Psychic. Outer Golem. Uchiha lightly solved the two people's pillar power, and then channeled the Outer Path Golem. Golem Lock. The chakra chain spat out from the golem's mouth and directly penetrated the abdomen of the two human pillars, pulling the two-tailed beasts out. The four-tailed Sun Wukong and the five-tailed Mu King were bound by chains, wailing and being dragged inch by inch into the mouth of the Outer Path Golem. After Uchiha had done all this, he asked Baiju, "What's going on over there with the Great Snake Pill? Where is the intercolumn now?" Quote. As soon as the thousand-hand pillar was filthy by the Great Snake Pill, he was out of control, and after learning that Konoha was about to be attacked by the coalition forces, he hurried to Konoha. Baiju recalled. Success is not enough, more than failure. Let Orochimaru go to Konoha with the ninja who came out of the filthy soil. Uchiha ordered. What about us? Go to Konoha too. No hurry, go to the meeting Yaoi Renjuli first. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.